Will council please come to order? And will the clerk please call the roll?
Anderson?
Present.
Oliver? Here. Ward?
Here.
Hager-Smith?
Here.
Mattingly?
Here.
Sutphin?
Here.
Watson?
Present.
Will the Vice Mayor please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
And if I could briefly interrupt our regularly scheduled program, and if I could ask Mayor Hager-Smith and Councilwoman Mattingly to come to the front with me briefly. And they gave me the microphone for this, so this is always kind of risky. So I just wanted to acknowledge that this is our last meeting of the Blacksburg Town Council for 2025, which also means it's the last meeting for a couple of our council members who together have had many years of combined service on the Blacksburg Town Council. We just wanted to do a token of our appreciation for the town of Blacksburg for their many years of service and have a plaque here. So I will just go ahead and read these. The first is, with our greatest appreciation, Councilmember Susan Mattingly, thank you for your dedicated service to the town of Blacksburg. Your efforts have consistently strengthened our community and help preserve its historic character. We wish you all the best for your future endeavors and remain deeply grateful for all that you've contributed. With gratitude, Blacksburg Town Council. And our next one, with our greatest appreciation for Mayor Leslie Hager-Smith, in grateful recognition for your dedicated service to the town of Blacksburg. Your efforts to enhance and protect our community have left a lasting legacy. We extend our best wishes for your future endeavors and remain sincerely grateful for your contributions. With gratitude, Blacksburg Town Council. I wanted to thank both of those, not just for the years of service on the Blacksburg Town Council, but even before that, with their many volunteer activities and involvement with our community. Thank you.
And let's not forget, Leslie was our first woman mayor in the history of Blacksburg. And when we lose them, we will go from having 4 women on council for the last 8 years back to 2. And we're a little sad about that, though the new people will be great.
Thank you all. We will continue now with our consent agenda. And that includes the approval of town council minutes for November 18 and 25. Ordinance 2107, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of property located on Brush Mountain, as well as the conveyance of an open space easement over the property to the Virginia Outdoors Foundation. We will introduce that ordinance and schedule it for a public hearing on January 13th. We have a CUP planned, and that will be rescheduled for the public hearing on January 13th. And that's the extent of the consent agenda. What is council's pleasure on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Oliver?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Hager-Smith?
Aye.
Mattingly?
Aye.
Sutphin?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Anderson?
Aye.
Thank you. I am having a little trouble with my voice tonight, so bear with me. But we will launch now into the public hearings, and the first is a Resolution 12B25, a resolution granting a conditional use permit to the Virginia Tech Foundation, Inc., for a 2-family dwelling use in the Old Town Residential Zoning District at 205 Washington Street. And we begin with the staff presentation.
Kinsey O'Shea has the staff report.
Good evening. The following is a request for a duplex use in the OTR Old Town Residential Zoning District. The request follows a previously approved request for a duplex, which has since expired. The blue area indicates the parcel on Washington Street. It is adjacent to the Town Hall Annex and the town's Five Chimneys building. The previous conditional use permit was approved in 2022 and expired after 18 months of no action. The existing structure is 2 stories with a basement and was designed and built as a 3-unit dwelling, including the basement as a unit. Most recently, the building housed office uses. The proposal is to remodel the structure back into a stacked 2-unit duplex. The basement would be used for mechanical and storage. Each of the units is proposed to be 2 bedrooms with 1 bathroom, and there are no significant site changes proposed. Conditional use permits are evaluated per the zoning ordinance, section 1181, which calls for consideration of the comprehensive plan, the zoning ordinance, and the mitigation of potential adverse impacts. The comprehensive plan is supportive of varied housing opportunities throughout town, especially for non-students. The site is located within the medium-density residential future land use, which allows up to 20 bedrooms per acre. The proposed development is required to adhere to the district standards which are seen on the screen and found in the staff report. The parcel is within the Old Town Residential Zoning District, seen in teal on the screen. On the left is an existing conditions survey of the property showing the building and the pavement areas. On the right is the street view of the building. The image on the left is the proposed condition showing the installation of a modified Type A buffer yard between the existing parking and the property line, consisting of vegetation and a 4-foot architectural screen. The existing gravel area to the right side of the house will be removed and replaced with grass. The elevations on the right side show the fronts and sides of the building. The plans show proposed landscaping to the rear of the property along with a 4-foot architectural screen. Street trees will also be planted along Washington Street. Water and sanitary sewer serve the site and are adequate for the proposed development. There are no proposed improvements that trigger stormwater management requirements. There is transit service available nearby on Washington Street and Kent Street, as well as South Main Street. The existing sidewalk on Washington Street is not proposed to change. The Planning Commission held a public hearing for this request on November 4th and recommended approval with conditions at a vote of 9-0. There are 2 staff recommended conditions for substantial conformance and unit occupancy. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have of staff.
Do we have questions? Thank you. And do we have a statement from the applicant?
Good evening. My name is Tom Kuntz. I'm an architect with TKA Architects, representing the owner and the future purchaser. It is presently owned by the Virginia Tech Foundation, but will soon be purchased by Jack Horner. And I have just a few slides. A lot of it I know Kinsey's already explained to you, but we'll do this here. This is the Washington Street elevation of the house, or the duplex. It is about 100 yards right up the street here. It's right up against, as she mentioned, other town properties. The house is sheathed in aluminum siding, except for one elevation, which is wood siding. It has aluminum double hung windows and single hung windows without trim. Has a hip roof. None of that is going to be changing. It is a wood frame 2-story structure. Each floor is about 1,350 square feet. As she mentioned, it was originally built as a 3-apartment building. We're not remodeling or renovating the basement to be used as an apartment. It's just going to be used for storage. It is currently Old Town Residential, and the prior occupant was a therapy business operating through a special use permit for offices. This is the south or the rear elevation of the building. You'll notice that there's a natural wood, unpainted, second floor kind of enclosed porch, and it's hard to see in the slide, but there's a trellis work on the bottom around the posts, columns holding it up. That'll all be refurbished and repainted. The wood siding on the back of the house, which you can't tell from the slide, but it's kind of worn down, old tired wood siding. That'll be taken off, replaced with aluminum siding to match the rest of the house. The wood trellis needs repair. We will take care of that. You'll also see dumpster bins there. They will be removed and put into an enclosure on the other side of the property. The proposal is very simple. We want to replace the existing special use permit that has gone out of date with a conditional use permit. We want to return the business use back to a residential use, which we think is certainly more appropriate for Old Town residential. And we would like to renovate the house, renovate the duplex, for graduate student use, professional faculty and staff, young professionals. So the intention is to kind of keep the residents as best as we can on the higher level of being able to maintain and take care of the house. The renovation plan itself, you've already seen these elevations briefly, but we want to clean the aluminum siding. We want to add trim at the head and sill of the windows, which would be kind of a cement board trim. Also do the same at the corners, the major corners of the house for corner boards, and then a frieze board right under the roof. This is all being proposed to make it more architecturally interesting, provide more color, and to update the structure. The purchaser is a Hokie, and so he would like to paint the doors, the entry doors, a dark maroon. The brick chimneys and the roof would remain. They will not be touched. We will paint the second floor wood addition in the back and the rear to match the rest of the building. We're going to replace that wood siding with aluminum siding. Everything inside the house will pretty much be changed. We're going to update the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. We'll update the interiors by opening up the floor plan, provide new finishes, replace kitchen cabinetry, and replace the plumbing fixtures. This is the first floor plan. The image you see on the left is the existing condition, and the image on the right is the proposed condition. I know that's not necessarily the area of the CUP, but just to show you the extent that the owner wants to improve the property. We want to make the plan much more open, so we will completely rework the kitchen from a room to an open space, to a TV space, entertainment space, and a living room. And that's what you can see on the right-hand slide. The bathrooms will also be updated as well, new finishes throughout the house. The second floor is very much the same plan as the first floor. It's a little bit larger, has about 300 square feet more area because the porch, the entry porch, obviously that's a room now above the first floor. And the back second story porch is going to be refurbished and repainted. That is an office space. So the second floor is a little bit larger. The site plan has already been mentioned. We're going to restripe the parking area. We're going to add vegetative screening along the south property line. We will replace the gravel that's just kind of spread out over time on the west side of the house. And then we will be adding streetscape trees per the town code zoning requirements along Washington Street. And, that's our presentation showing you basically what we want to do. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public here today who would like to speak to Resolution 12B25, approving a CUP for this building? Okay, seeing no one. What is council's pleasure on Resolution 12B25?
I move for approval of Resolution 12B25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ford.
Aye.
Hager-Smith.
Aye.
Mattingly.
Aye.
Sutphen.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Oliver.
Aye.
We move on now to Ordinance 2090, rezoning 2.638 acres of land at 305, 306, and 309 Webb Street and 800 Orchard Street from medium-density multi-unit to residential RM48 zoning. Multi-unit and residential RM48 zoning to planned residential zoning. And we begin with the staff presentation.
Kenzie, before we get into that, I'm sorry, for folks here sitting on this side, if you guys could scoot in a little bit because we've got quite a few people standing in the back and it's going to be a long night tonight. Thank you, guys.
I think we can go ahead and get started, Kinsey.
This is a request to rezone 305 and 309 Webb Street and 800 Orchard Street from RM48 medium density residential to PR planned residential. The property owners are Diversified Interest TT LLC and Webb Street LLC, and the area to be rezoned is just over 2.5 acres. There are currently multifamily and single-family residential uses on site that would be demolished. The proposal is for the redevelopment of existing Tech Terrace apartments to a single 7-story building with up to 703 bedrooms and 266 bedrooms per acre. The building includes a mix of 1 to 5 bedroom units, a parking deck, and bicycle spaces. Open space includes terraces that are open to the sky and indoor amenity areas. The development also includes a minimum of 10% canopy coverage. Here is an image of the master plan showing the proposed layout. The dashed areas that you see on the screen are terraces that are open to the sky. The bottom of the screen is Webb Street, and on the right-hand side of the screen is Orchard Street. The building is, as you can see, takes up the entire block. There is proposed vegetation towards the page north of this site of the plan, and a sidewalk along Webb Street and Orchard Street. Section 1151 of the zoning ordinance outlines 4 criteria for evaluating rezonings. These include conformance to the comprehensive plan, the need and the justification for the change, and the effects on the surrounding properties and area. Future land use map designates 305 Webb and 800 Orchard as high-density residential and 309 Webb as commercial. The parcels fall within an urban development area and are also designated as a preferred location for high-density student housing. While the high-density designation supports student housing, the commercial designation is less aligned with the proposed density. This parcel is located in an area designated for high-density student housing as identified in the 2022 Comprehensive Plan update. This is the future land use map. As you can see, it is split between high-density residential and commercial. The Comprehensive Plan acknowledges the need for diverse and affordable housing options. It also encourages the reinvestment in aging student housing, which this application proposes. The applicant has also proffered a contribution to the town's Affordable Housing Trust Fund. In the zoning ordinance, there is a statement of purpose for each district. The PR district allows flexibility for applicants to determine the best standards that meet the intent of the proposed development and the district purpose. The intent of the district can be met in a number of ways. In exchange for flexibility, the application, plan, and proffers are binding. Any substantive changes would require the applicant to amend the PRD and go through the public hearing process again. Here you can see an image of the current zoning map with the subject property outlined in blue, designated as RM48, and adjacent to PR at the edge. In the zoning ordinance, there are 3 types of regulations that govern new development. The planned residential district allows applicants to propose most of the district standards, but use and design standards and development standards still apply unless modifications are specifically requested. District standards apply to all development within a particular zoning district. The existing and proposed standards are found on the table and in the staff report. You can see that the proposed district standards are generally more intense than the surrounding zoning would permit. The proposed height is 93 feet. The setbacks are 12.5 feet in front, 5 feet on the sides, and 10 feet at the rear. This is more intense than what RM48 would allow. However, the PR district does allow reduced setbacks if they are justified for the development. The proposed density is 266 bedrooms per acre, or up to 703 total bedrooms. While the comprehensive plan future land use designation of high-density residential has no upper limit, nor does the PR zoning district, density should be evaluated as a part of the rezoning request in consideration of the surrounding neighborhood. Occupancy would be either a family plus 2 unrelated individuals or 1 person per bedroom, which is consistent with other purpose-built student housing developments. The proposed 7-story building is a continuous single form. The architectural detailing includes building stepbacks above the parking levels and vertical articulation to break the massing of the building into an appearance of 3 forms. This is a view of the building along Webb Street at the pedestrian level, and a view of the building along Orchard Street at the pedestrian level. Open space is required as both a district standard in the PR district and as a use and design standard for multifamily. The plan includes 49% open space, which exceeds the 20% minimum. Amenities are distributed across levels and include rooftop terraces, a pool, fitness centers, and study areas. This is the open space plan showing all the proposed recreational open space in dark green. The applicant has included a signage plan as a part of the rezoning application. This slide illustrates several of the proposed signs and their dimensions. The applicant is proposing a reduction in parking from the required 1.1 parking spaces per bedroom for multifamily to 0.64 parking spaces per bedroom for a total of 448 spaces, all located in a structured deck below the residential units. The proposal exceeds the required 188 bicycle spaces and proposes 296 bicycle spaces. The applicant is proposing a 10% canopy coverage, which is typical for multifamily developments. Water and sewer, our infrastructure are reviewed by town staff. The proposal includes a centralized trash and recycling area with trash chutes on each floor. Collection will be handled privately. There is a proposed 8-foot sidewalk along Webb Street and 5-foot sidewalk along Orchard Street. The applicant is proffering additional sidewalk improvements to mitigate the impact of the development on public sidewalk infrastructure. This slide indicates the nearest and most likely crossings for pedestrians from this development. Most pedestrians will walk to the signalized intersection at Toms Creek and Prices Fork Road. This corridor along Prices Fork Road has seen increases in pedestrian and vehicle volume, but most concerning is the increase in crash rate compared to the statewide average for similar roads. The proffered improvement includes lengthening the culverts under Prices Fork Road to accommodate a wider sidewalk over the creek crossing parallel to Prices Fork. A neighborhood meeting was held on August 28th. 2 community members attended and asked questions related to traffic, occupancy, and parking. The applicant is requesting 2 modifications to building orientation and the elimination of the 4-foot vegetative strip on Orchard Street adjacent to the sidewalk. The Planning Commission heard this request at its October 7th, 2025 public hearing, and a motion was made to approve the request. However, the motion failed with a vote of 3-4 with 2 commissioners absent. The applicant has provided a number of proffers which are summarized generally on the screen. Proffer number 1 deals with substantial conformance with the application, plan, and proffer. Proffer number 2 deals with occupancy restrictions. The occupancy is required to be a family plus 2 unrelated persons or no more than 1 person per bedroom when all residents are unrelated. Proffer 3 pertains to energy efficiency of the building. The building will achieve an energy use intensity which is considered sustainable for a student housing building and will be verified by a third party. Proffer 4 comprises the parking policy. To effectively manage its parking permits, stickers, or fobs will be issued to residents, and enforcement measures such as signage and towing will be utilized. The number of permits will not be allowed to exceed the number of spaces in the plan and architectural drawings. Proffer 5 deals with the pedestrian improvements along Webb Street. The proffer would commit the owner to widen the sidewalk along Prices Fork Road at Webb Street to accommodate additional pedestrian traffic. The scope of improvements would likely include culvert extension, sidewalk construction, guardrail relocation, and associated stormwater modifications. The improvements are required to be constructed by the owner prior to the issuance of the first CO. Proffer 6 pertains to a contribution to the Affordable Housing Development Fund. The owner proffers to contribute $2 million to the Affordable Housing Development Fund prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the project. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have of staff. We also have engineering staff here as well if you have questions for them.
Can I ask a question? So in an earlier draft of the of this proposal, it was 2.8 million, but that was for an affordable housing and sidewalk proffer. That was separated, I guess.
They have since been uncoupled, so the sidewalk improvements is entirely separate from the affordable housing contribution. That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, but I thought a previous slide showed $789,600 for the,
That was a typo. I apologize for that.
okay, so it's $2 million.
$2 million to the Affordable Housing Development Fund, yes.
Okay.
I have a question for either you or Larry. Number 7, conformance with town's stormwater and floodplain ordinances. Isn't that a requirement?
It is a requirement, and I believe either Larry or Carolyn can answer a little bit better than that.
although it says that, it actually goes beyond that. It's more elaborate. There's conditions at the site. There's stormwater flood type issues, and so Proffer 7 has a detailed Exhibit A to it that addresses that in greater detail. So it's not just simply we're going to follow your rules. It's the steps they plan to take and how they plan to do it are kind of enumerated in that.
Could you go back to where you showed us the pedestrian stats and the crash rating on prices for it?
This is a significant increase in the number of pedestrians crossing at all of these locations in the last several years.
Did you say 75% increase?
That's correct.
75, this is the one I was interested in. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And did you tell us the Planning Commission recommendation, Kinsey?
The Planning Commission recommended approval, but the motion failed with a vote of 3 to 4 with 2 commissioners absent.
Okay. Let's go to the applicant statement.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Steve Simonis of Balzer & Associates. Kinsey touched on all the nuts and bolts of this, so I don't want to spend time talking about bed count and parking. I'm happy to answer those questions if you have some. What I'd like to do is, it's not usual we come up before you with a non-approval from the Planning Commission. So what we've done over the last few weeks, and as we shared at our couple work sessions, is really worked hard to try to address those concerns that Planning Commission had when we came through with our vote. So I'd like to touch on a few of those in the comprehensive plan primarily in our presentation tonight. Just a few quick things on the plan itself. The plan, as Kinsey mentioned, it's across that block of Webb Street and Orchard. We do have our main entrance, the leasing area you'll see down in the lower right-hand corner. Everything on those first 2 levels is parking, and then we've got structure of our residential units up above. You'll see the little boxed outlines in the middle of the building. That's our green space on our 3rd level that's open to the sky. And as Kinsey mentioned, we do have a large amount of green space and open space that we're using throughout the project, both indoor and outdoor. One of the pieces, obviously, in this location that's important is it matches that map E of the comprehensive plan. Now, part of that, it's not just a color on the map, it's the goals that are set forth, that Council and Planning Commission set forth within the comprehensive plan, that if you're going to look at one of these, not just because it's a color on the map, but are you meeting those goals within the development plan itself. I've got this in our application, but I would just like to read through it quickly if you don't mind. So these are the goals for high-density student housing locations: bicycle and pedestrian connectivity to the town's transportation network. We believe this project will improve the sidewalk infrastructure along Webb Street and Orchard. Crosswalks are proposed, as well as the new proffer about improving the intersection of Price's Fork and Webb Street. Long-term secure and sheltered bicycle parking. We've got 2 levels of secure covered bike parking within our parking deck levels. Transit access and quality to amenities at transit stops. As you all know, there are several transit locations within a short walking distance from here on Price's Fork, on Toms Creek, and on North Main. Strong property management, including code of conduct for residents. CMG Leasing will manage this property. As you all know, they have a lot of property around town, have an excellent reputation and record of strong property management across its portfolio of properties. Meaningful open space, I touched on that earlier, so indoor and outdoor spaces for residents to use, including pedestrian improvements along Webb Street and Orchard Street that allow for that indoor-outdoor, public-private relationship from the street to the building. Structured parking to minimize impervious areas. We've touched on that. We've got 2 levels of structured parking. Attention to neighborhood contacts with setbacks, height, buffering, and outdoor location of amenities. This is in an existing student housing location. At our neighborhood meeting, we had 2 neighborhood meetings because we did add a small parcel on kind of halfway through our project. So we had 2 neighborhood meetings, and we had 2 or 3 folks at each one. So they were residents of town, but not direct adjacent properties. As you know, we have the edge, other rental property, and commercial property adjacent to us. So we don't have that concern with neighbors directly adjacent to our properties. And I'll touch on mass of the building here in a minute. High-quality building practices, including durable building materials, building designs that are original, context-sensitive, and specific to Blacksburg. So we've changed some of our architectural and our colors on the building to make it more consistent with some of our surrounding structures. Sustainable site design and development methods. We're proffering basically a building quality, building energy efficiency within this project itself. Consideration of future trends such as electric vehicle charging. We have charging stations located on our second parking deck, designated convenient drop-off areas for rideshare and deliveries. We've got on-street parking on Orchard Street that would come right to the front of the leasing area you see there for drop-off, and convenient locations throughout the development for trash and recycling. As Kenzie mentioned, we have 1 trash location that would be serviced publicly, but each floor would have a trash chute, so residents could go directly to that, drop trash, and are not inside, outside with their trash. The other thing, so this is kind of the last piece I want to touch on. So these are the significant changes we feel we've made since Planning Commission. Mayor, that $786,000 was our original proffer for the affordable housing, and we took that based on some ratios that were done with the 801 North Main project and some reductions that were taken for some stormwater. What we saw with Planning Commission was, and I don't want to speak for Planning Commission, Mr. Ford could certainly speak to this as well, but we heard it was a little too big, it was a little too dense, and not enough given back to the town. So what we've done, we've gone back and added some vertical articulation to the building to break that building up. That dropped our density down to about 703 beds, which now drops the density on a per acre basis lower than the 801 North Main project. So we're a little bit less dense than that is. The breakup of the building was really just for that massing across Webb Street. So that knocked out units and basically broke the building into 3 separate locations. And I'll touch through those. But the biggest one, well, they're all significant. So the affordable housing contribution increased to $2 million, a flat $2 million payable upon the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. So again, not taken over a number of years, just at certificate of occupancy, that $2 million check would be deposited to the town for the Affordable Development Fund. A proffered commitment, as Kenzie said, we decoupled these. So that commitment to build the sidewalk improvements at the northwest corner of intersection of Price's Fork and Webb Street. It's an estimated value from DCI Shires, which is a contractor that does a lot of work here in town. Estimated that to be at about an $800,000 infrastructure improvement. This improvement was one of the ones identified by the town's transportation consultant as one of the several pedestrian improvements to be done along that section of Price's Fork. So that's one that we can kind of check off the box for you all as opposed to waiting for VDOT funding. Significant changes to the building addressing massing and density. So again, the drop to 703 beds, 266.5 bedrooms per acre, now less dense than 801. 2 large vertical breaks in the building we talked about. Building elements and colors have been adjusted to be more consistent with the surrounding properties. Parking ratio increased with that reduction of beds, so 0.64 is a little bit higher than what you saw at 801 and some of the other projects you've seen. We provide additional renderings that you all saw. We kind of had to flip through them quick in my 5-minute presentation at work session to show the massing of this building in relation to Gilbert Place, to the parking deck, and to 801 to show that this building is not going to tower over this section of Price's Fork, especially as low as it sits in elevation. The upper building signage has been removed. The tree canopy coverage has been increased to 10%, and we've added a policy or added a proffer for a parking policy. Just going to scroll through these quickly in my last 2.5 minutes here. So you'll see on this, these are the breaks, and you'll see these a couple different places. The breaks in the buildings, the change in the colors to really split those buildings up. This is obviously looking from the entrance of the edge back Orchard Street's to your right and looking east on Webb Street there to the left. So when we broke those buildings up, that allowed for some additional covered outdoor space. You see that new active open space, so that would be 12-month space that's covered that residents could use, so it's not just outdoor. And those patios or those open space areas in the core of the building, these would be covered, usable open space areas for the residents. Another view of that. Again, you can see heavy landscaping, pedestrian improvements along this is Webb Street looking back towards the intersection of Orchard. Again, you see the horizontal step back in the building right there. This would be along Orchard Street. I'll skip through that. It's a little hard to see, but again, the breaks in the buildings. This is our main floor of our parking garage, so you'll see the covered bike parking there in the middle. That's mirrored up in the second floor as well. You see those, again, the cutback areas labeled there, so that's kind of the main floor of that third floor with the outdoor amenity space. And these are just some of the elevations and the massings we showed. Again, it's kind of hard to see, but you'll see Tech Terrace, you'll see 801 North Main and Gilbert Place, and you'll see those green horizontal lines going across. So even though Tech Terrace, from a height standpoint to our elevator overrun, is slightly taller than North Main, it sits lower in the landscape. And as you can see, it sits lower than Gilbert Place as well. And again, these are just some other examples. So you see the parking garage, Gilbert Place, Tech Terrace, sitting in between the Edge and Tech Village. So again, really fits into the landscape. Now this is bird's eye, but again, you can see from a massing standpoint, it's not sticking out in this area any more so than the rest of the buildings that are being redeveloped in this corridor. And last one, so this is the diagram provided by the town as part of the VDOT, the funding study that's happening, and ours is number 2 up there, that box culvert extension needed to provide a wider sidewalk. So that would be part of our proffer that would meet that $800,000. 7 seconds left. So that's my presentation for this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
You have questions for Steve?
Hey, Steve, can you talk a little bit about the timing of those sidewalk improvements? Is that also when certificate of occupancy is?
That would be done as part of our site plan. So that the design of that, the construction of that would be approved during our site plan process and would be constructed with the building itself. Those, I think Kinsey had mentioned those would have to be complete prior to the occupancy.
Built tomorrow, but maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years from tomorrow. I'm wondering if staff has input on how exactly we might see that $800,000 proffer as we improve that portion of Price's Fork.
I'm not sure. I think the way that we would expect that to happen is that particular improvement would happen with this development and not with the other site.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to open it up now to public comments and ask you to come forward and give us your name and your address if you have public comments to make on ordinance 2090.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Costrin. I live at 807 Clater Square in the University City Boulevard neighborhood, and I just wanted to offer my support to this project. When it comes to these planning decisions that involve housing, I think it's really important to think in terms of opportunity cost. It might feel easy to deny a project or to ask them to lower the number of units, but remember, those are future residents. Those are people who will one day be our friends and neighbors here in Blacksburg. And at one point, all of the houses we live in that we love now were once approved and built by past generations. And I think future generations will be happy that we built and approved new housing for our posterity. I know it might be difficult. Some of the infrastructure and traffic and things of that nature that creating new units in a spot might lead to. But again, I think weighted against the hundreds of new neighbors and friends in Blacksburg, I think those issues can be overcome, or at least are slightly less important than more housing options and just a more cool Blacksburg. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to offer comments during this period? Seeing no one, would the applicant like to make a rebuttal? No, okay. Okay. I'm going to ask for a motion of one kind or another, and then we can have a discussion. What is council's pleasure?
I don't know how this is going to go, but I move that we deny ordinance 2090.
I second that denial.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
Oh, I guess I can kick us off since I made the motions. I'll start by, you might be surprised that I made the motion to deny because I'm generally in favor of adding additional student housing, especially in areas where we have existing student housing, but I'm concerned about some specific technical details about this proposal, especially the pedestrian safety types of issues that came up. As we saw over the past 5 or 6 years, we've seen additional crashes in that area, and I'm concerned that by adding additional people in this area, it will create unsafe conditions as people are crossing Price's Fork, especially once we do things like allow for less than our parking standards, which I'm generally in favor of doing, but I think in this instance, it kind of compounds the pedestrian types of issues that we've seen. Despite my planned vote for denial, I would like to thank the applicant for working with us through this process and making changes throughout it, including lowering the density, removing the signage on the upper floors that was in an earlier version of this proposal, making it a little bit more kind of pedestrian in nature, but at the end of the day, I'm voting in favor of this motion, which is a vote to deny.
Okay, who else would like to chime in?
Well, I'll go ahead and chime in. I confess I was one of the absentees at the Planning Commission, so I can't, this is my first time being on record for this. So although the comp plan indicates that this is a good place for high-density student housing, that's just the first step in my mind when we're looking at a proposal. In this case, to achieve that high density, the applicants need to use a PRD, planned residential. And then there's all sorts of standards and ideals that go along with the PRD. And so I kind of look at the project then within the lens of the PRD to see if it meets what I feel it needs to meet. I'm not sure that when you look at the PRD says one of the things is to serve an underserved housing need. We've approved a lot of student-built or purpose-built student housing, and there is a lot of other housing that we need, so I'm not sure it really addresses that. I think there is stormwater here, and so there is a little bit of an issue, but compared to what we dealt with at the beginning of the year with the North Main Street one, I don't believe the stormwater or this site is really difficult to develop, which is one of the other criteria we use with the PRD. And then kind of riffing on what Michael said is that we need to consider when we're looking at PRDs how the proposal will affect public services. So in this case, the public services would be buses, the streets, and the sidewalks. And so, we've seen that slide up there of how much of an increase we've had over these past 5 to 6 years. And there was this approval literally upstream from here that earlier in this year. Our pedestrian network, I believe, is going to be affected and can't handle. It's probably already needs a lot of work, and that's why we're studying it. And I'm afraid that allowing this to move forward, it would just stress it even more. For those reasons, I don't feel that I can support it tonight. Also, I did not earlier in the year support the North Main project, and that was a PRD, and that was in an area that the comp plan said was probably a good location, and it was the height It was the density, and the lack of parking that bothered me. I firmly believe that the comp plan, aspirational as it is the starting point. But it's also, in my opinion, it's not a carte blanche to shoot for the sky. I believe the applicant's done a really good job between Planning Commission's time with this and moving up here, trying to adjust it and move forward, and they should be commended for their efforts. But to me, the height's too much, and even though they've attempted somewhat to soften the building for the pedestrian experience and overall the experience of our citizens in our community, I do think, being consistent with how I felt with the previous one, that I can't support this.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
So I'm also very concerned about pedestrian safety. We've just had too many incidents this year, and I just don't see how, I don't know how I could live with myself if something happened, because we've increased the density of people coming across Price's Fork right there, so that's weighing on me heavily.
Well, I'll chime in. I do believe this location is great for student housing, but I feel this similarly to the way I did about the 801 North Main Street, possibly similar to you, Jerry, in that it's too tall, too dense, and it's just too massive. Just because it's a place for student housing doesn't mean any student housing would be perfect there. I think if we'd scaled it back, that would be really good. I also believe the parking ratio isn't adequate. Back in the earlier part of this year, we got a letter from a student resident, leaser, and I just want to quote a couple of sentences from it. It says, "While it is sometimes assumed that students primarily rely on biking and walking, our experience in student housing has shown that many do bring cars, as do their guests. Ensuring an appropriate parking ratio is not only beneficial for future residents, but also essential to maintaining accessibility and harmony within the surrounding community." And I don't know what that appropriate ratio is for each student development, but my personal opinion, and after reading, is that the parking ratio here just isn't sufficient. I think, as everybody else has mentioned, that pedestrian safety is a huge concern for us on Price's Fork. We are doing studies to combat this. We have the data that was shown up on the screen tonight. And to add more students at a time when we're just getting started in this phase of trying to make Price's Fork safer seems very ill-conceived to me. And so I do appreciate the applicant's Affordable Housing Development Trust Fund proffer. I think that's wonderful. But the good about the proposal just doesn't override the negative for me. And so I will vote against the proposal, which would be for your motion.
For the motion, yes.
I would say my vote is also going to be in favor of pedestrian safety. Because we are in the midst of this study, I feel like it would be irresponsible to put hundreds and hundreds of more students at a point where we have the level of congestion we do and the public safety concern, when we have an opportunity to build some of that infrastructure and make those improvements. There may be another outcome. It may be more appropriate at that time. But at this time, it just seems premature to put hundreds of more students at that intersection.
I'll agree that the traffic situation, particularly the pedestrian traffic situation along Price's Fork Road, is a danger. It's presently a danger, and with the addition of 801 North Main, I think that's only going to get worse. And if this building were to be built, I believe it would also continue to get worse. We have fixes for this in the pipeline. The thing that I struggle with is, if we don't put student housing here in the comp plan, where the comp plan says student housing needs to go, and we do have an underserved housing need in this community for student housing. In fact, the developer would not be bringing us student housing if they couldn't rent out all the bedrooms in that complex. So the developer has the studies that suggest that we need student housing. Conversations I've had with students also indicate that we desperately, desperately need student housing. I'll talk more about that with the UCB development. You would be stunned by the number of students who are paying their rent from their subsidized or unsubsidized student loans or on their credit card, only to have to pay that off after graduation. So I think we do have an underserved housing need in student housing in Blacksburg right now, and if we're looking for a place for that student housing to go, I would argue that where we already have high-density student housing is the perfect place for high-density student housing. So in fact, it's 703 beds, but it's not 703 beds on top of, say, virgin land. It's on top of approximately 200 student beds already. So in a lot of ways, I feel like this project is exactly what we need here in Blacksburg and exactly where we need it. I mean, of course, I'd rather it go across Price's Fork Road, but unfortunately there's a university there, so this is the next nearest option. I got to say I was unimpressed with the initial proffer of $789,000, which was going to be spread out over 10 years, so at $78,000 per year, which is now a $2 million lump sum at the certificate of occupancy issuance. So I feel much better about that particular affordability proffer. So I will be voting nay on the motion to deny.
Thank you. I think my colleagues have handled the concerns to do with parking ratios and traffic. Those are my concerns as well. So I want to speak a little bit about something that has come up in the comments here on this proposal, and they will come up again on the next proposal, and that is to do with the comprehensive plan generally. I got an email from somebody in the last few days who resented being lectured about the comprehensive plan, but really I do think that this needs greater understanding and greater examination. And not just here, the city of Salem is also coping with expectations for the comp plan and what it actually accomplishes. There's an old joke about statistics, and it is that people lean on statistics like a drunk uses a light post, more for support than illumination. And I think you could substitute comp plan here for statistics. The comp plan is neither legislative nor regulatory. It's not prescriptive. It's a broad brushstroke expression of community values and aspirations. So that means the idea that it's in the comp plan for student housing here is not prescriptive. And it's equally true that however you interpret the comp plan for UCB, it's not prescriptive. Events of the last few months should make it vividly clear why we cannot count on the comp plan for every decision. In August, the VT Board of Visitors torpedoed years of planning for the on-campus Student Life Village, while at the same time calling for a phased growth plan to add 10,000 more students. And we're coping with the 5,000 that were added over 10 years' time. Then came news of the land swap that will remove 7.4 acres of property from town tax rolls, including the North End Center, Gilbert Place, Collegiate Square, and the North End Center parking garage. Stuff happens. Sometimes it happens fast. If we could govern based on a rule book, you wouldn't need a town council. Going further, the comp plan does not exist in an immaculate state of readiness. No matter how frequently we update it, and this town of Blacksburg updates it more often than most Virginia localities, no matter how often you do that, it is not always in a state of preparedness. I could name several examples. We call for dark skies policies, but we have very few in place, and we have no way to enforce them. The housing chapter notes that many young families, married students, and graduate professional students are choosing to live in Christiansburg and other surrounding localities where they can afford affordable housing options. They commute into Blacksburg, which does not support Blacksburg's sustainability commitment. So those two goals are at odds. If we fail to make space in town limits for the students who attend Virginia Tech, we also violate the transportation chapter of the comp plan, which has shifted to prioritize moving people rather than vehicles. And another small example is the environmental chapter asks us to require radon testing for renter-occupied buildings with any bedroom that is below the 3rd floor. These things aren't happening, and they're all in our comp plan, because the comp plan isn't what I think some people think it is. So we will have a chance to talk about this again on Ordinance 2094. But in any event, a reminder to my colleagues that the motion was to deny. So if you vote yes, you are voting to deny this request. Will the clerk please call the order? Roll.
Hager-Smith.
Yay.
Mattingly.
Yay.
Sutphin.
Aye.
Watson.
Nay.
Anderson.
Aye.
Colliver.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Aye is what I meant.
Me
Got
too.
it.
Yay's kind of the same thing.
I said yay, and I
Yeah.
just repeated it.
Thank you. We will move on now to ordinance 2094, and that is rezoning 4.6 acres of land at 702, 810, 820, 840, and 844 University City Boulevard from general commercial zoning to planned residential zoning. And we'll start with the staff presentation.
Thank you. There are several addressed buildings on the parcels to be rezoned. There's a mix of commercial and residential uses today. The contract purchaser is Ascent Property Company, and the parcels are a little over 4.5 acres in total. The rezoning area is shown in blue, and you can see it does have some frontage along University City Boulevard, but none at a signalized intersection. The proposal includes a single six-story building with 4 floors of residential above 2 floors of parking. There are 821 bedrooms proposed for a density of 177 bedrooms per acre. The proposed parking ratio is 0.57 parking spaces per bedroom. The development will have a 7% tree canopy and a 30% open space comprised of open-air terraces and indoor recreation amenities. This is the plan as provided by the applicant. You can see the building in blue that has frontage along University City Boulevard and an entrance from University City Boulevard into the roundabout that enters the lobby area. There's a fence and vegetative screening provided along the page north of this view, as well as fire lane around the outside of the building. There's also a striped bicycle lane along the east side of the building, page east of the building, and sidewalks that connect to University City Boulevard. As a reminder, Section 1151 outlines how Planning Commission and Town Council should review all zoning requests. The comprehensive plan commercial designation does not contemplate residential density. However, residential uses are allowed in the implementing zoning districts. The comprehensive plan future land use designation is commercial. It is also within a mixed use area indicated by the red bubble. The comprehensive plan, map E, shows preferred locations for high density student housing in orange and preferred locations for mixed use with student housing in maroon. The subject area lies outside these designated areas as indicated by the red circle in the zoomed in image on the right. As a reminder, there are a number of goals and policies within the comprehensive plan as it relates to the proposed request. The proposal does include a minimum of 12.5% of the total number of units as affordable. However, Council's policy on student housing, Resolution 8F25, states that there are increasingly few locations in town that are appropriate for high-density student housing, and that despite changing commercial and office markets, the town still prefers mixed use in commercial areas. The planned residential district allows up to 10% of the gross land area to be developed with commercial uses. The applicant is proposing approximately 5,000 to 7,500 square feet of commercial space, which equates to approximately 2% of the total PR land area. The commercial component of the development is along the property's frontage of UCB, as indicated in the red circle. In the zoning ordinance, there's a statement of purpose for each district. The PR district allows flexibility for applicants to determine the best standards that meet the intent of the proposed development and the district purpose. The intent of the district can be met in a number of ways. In exchange for flexibility, the application plan and proffers are binding. Any substantive changes would require the applicant to amend the PRD through the public hearing process. As you can see on the map, the current zoning is GC, general commercial, in the red. In the zoning ordinance, there are 3 types of regulations that govern new development. The PR district allows an applicant to propose most of these standards, but use and design standards and development standards still apply unless modifications are specifically requested. District standards apply to all development within a particular zoning district. The existing and proposed standards are found on the table and in the staff report, and you can see they are more intense than the surrounding general commercial would generally allow. The proposal includes a mix of unit types from 1-bedroom units to 5-bedroom units. Occupancy will be restricted as per the application to a family plus 2 or no more than 1 person per bedroom when all residents are unrelated. The proposed density is significantly higher than the surrounding developed area and what the current zoning would allow at 180 bedrooms per acre. The applicant is including a minimum of affordable units made affordable to households earning between 50 to 80% AMI for a minimum of 50 years. Open space is required as both a district standard in the PR district and as use and design standards for multifamily. A minimum of 20% is required. The applicant is proposing several outdoor terrace spaces for residents as well as indoor space, such as lounge and fitness areas that exceed the minimum standard, totaling at least 30%. These areas are located on top of the parking podium but are open to the sky and provide recreation and seating areas. The medium green areas indicate the recreational open spaces and include several terraces, a rooftop pool, grass-paved fire lane outside the building. The use and design standards that govern the development of a particular use in any zoning district. The use and design standards for multifamily uses are intended to provide an attractive, street-oriented development with appropriate connections and open space. In this image, the red circle displays the main entrance, and the yellow areas indicate sidewalk areas on site, which are pushing pedestrians towards University City Boulevard. The bottom image is the eastern elevation visible from the rear of homes along Hutchison Drive. The top image is the western elevation, or the front, along University City Boulevard, showing the main entrance and the commercial space. This slide shows the zoomed-in areas, views of the plazas by the main entrance and the commercial area along UCB. The standard of 1.1 parking spaces per bedroom accommodates resident plus guest parking and is typical of student living where unrelated individuals occupy bedrooms. The PR district standards allow an applicant to propose an alternate standard. The applicant's justification includes proximity to campus and downtown and adjacent bus stops. Landscaping is required to be provided per the zoning ordinance. The minimum tree canopy should be as per similar uses, which in this case would be multifamily and would require a 10% canopy coverage. Street trees are required to be provided on all public street frontages. The applicant is proposing a 7.5% canopy coverage. Signage should be evaluated for its appropriateness to the development and the surrounding area. The applicant has discussed signage as a part of the application, and details were provided regarding the location, number, and size of signs. This slide shows the proposed signage ranging in size from 17.5 square feet to 96 square feet. The stormwater concept plan is approved. Town public water serves the site and is adequate to support the development. Improvements are needed to the sanitary sewer line in University City Boulevard in order to accommodate the development. The applicant will have to bear the cost of these improvements as there's no currently funded CIP. Blacksburg Transit serves the site with northbound and southbound sites nearby on UCB. Again, as we saw, there's pedestrian activity in this area, and you can see the three intersections: University City Boulevard, West Campus Drive, and mid-block at McBride, where these students would most likely be crossing. This includes proffers for pedestrian improvements, including wider sidewalk landings at number 8 and number 9, and wider sidewalk along number 10. There was a neighborhood meeting held on September 3rd, and there were a number of concerns regarding density, traffic, pedestrian activity, and loss of commercial. The proffers are generally summarized on the next slides. Proffer number 1 deals with substantial conformance with the application plan and proffer statement. Proffer number 2 deals with the affordable housing units commitment. A minimum of 14% of the units will be made affordable for a period of no less than 50 years. Specific details on the commitment will include when the 50-year time period would begin, the requirements of the property management, and the requirements for compliance oversight of the affordable development units. Proffer number 3 deals with unit mix and leasing. All studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom units will be rented by the unit, not by the bedroom. Proffer number 4 outlines green building standards. The building will be designed to meet national green building standards and shall be certified by a third party. Proffer number 5 comprises the parking policy. The owner is required to develop a parking policy and will issue permits, stickers, or fobs not to exceed the number of parking spaces shown on the plan in the architectural drawings. Additionally, the cost of parking will be unbundled from the monthly residential leases, so a renter will need to purchase a parking space separately from their bedroom or unit lease if they choose to do so. Proffer number 6 pertains to the occupancy regulations, where the maximum dwelling unit occupancy will be 1 person per bedroom when all residents are unrelated, or a family plus 2 unrelated persons. Proffer number 7 deals with improvements to nearby Blacksburg Transit bus stop. The proffer outlines 3 options of how improvements for a new covered bus shelter could be achieved by the owner along University City Boulevard. Proffer number 8 deals with pedestrian improvements at the northeast corner of University City Boulevard and Prices Fork Road. This is one of several proffers to address increased pedestrian traffic along Prices Fork Road if the development is approved and constructed. The proffer addresses improvement of the pedestrian landing at the northeast corner of UCB and Prices Fork Road, where many pedestrians will likely cross. The proffer also includes a provision for a cash proffer if the applicant cannot receive the necessary easements from private landowners or if the town determines that the final proposed improvements will not be effective. The cash proffer would be required to address other pedestrian infrastructure improvements on UCB or Prices Fork identified due to the increased pedestrian traffic from the development. Pedestrian 9 also deals with pedestrian improvements at the intersection of Woodland Drive and Prices Fork Road. This also includes wider landings and, again, a cash proffer if the applicant cannot receive the necessary easements from private landowners or if improvements are determined to fall outside the right-of-way. Proffer number 10 pertains to a cash proffer for improved pedestrian lighting. The owner proffers to provide a cash proffer of $250,000 to exclusively improve pedestrian visibility lighting, intersection illumination, or comparable safety lighting within the UCB, Prices Fork Road, and West Campus Drive corridor. Proffer 11 deals with pedestrian improvements along the north side of Prices Fork Road between UCB and Woodland Drive. The owner will construct up to a 7-foot sidewalk with 2-foot vegetative buffer between the sidewalk and the back of curb where possible. The proffer also does include a provision for a cash proffer if the applicant cannot receive the necessary easements from private landowners or if the town determines that the final proposed improvements will not be effective. The cash proffer would be required to address these other pedestrian infrastructure improvements along Prices Fork Road. Proffer number 12 pertains to the construction of a fence along the northern property line. The owner proffers an 8-foot solid privacy fence along the northern property line adjacent to the McBride Village neighborhood on the owner's property. Any proffered fence would be required to be installed prior to the CO for the building. Proffer 13 pertains to building exits along the rear or north and east sides of the building. The only exits on these sides of the building will be emergency-only exits. Proffer 14 deals with existing trees. The owner will retain an arborist who will provide oversight on construction activities within and adjacent to the existing tree line on the property and along the eastern and southeastern property lines that adjoins the single-family neighborhood. The owner proffers that reasonable efforts will be made to preserve all existing trees and replace or damaged or dead trees at a rate of 2 new trees for every 1 tree removed for a monitoring period of 2 years following the initial replacement planting. Proffer 15 pertains to sound attenuation measures incorporated into the building design, such as fixed windows, prohibition of balconies, and enclosed parking garage walls adjacent to the McBride Village neighborhood. And lastly, Proffer 16 offers a cash proffer donation to the Affordable Housing Development Fund in a total of $1 million. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have of staff. We also have engineering staff as well if you have questions for them.
Questions? None? Thank you, Kinsey. At this point, yeah.
Just go whenever?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of council, town staff, and neighbors. My name is Josh Fassbinder, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight on behalf of Ascent Property Company regarding the proposed redevelopment of 702 University City Boulevard. We recognize this is a pivotal decision for Blacksburg, and we appreciate the thoughtful engagement of council, staff, and the community throughout this process. We're here tonight seeking a PRD, a discretionary approval that places the burden of proof on us to demonstrate that this project should be approved in this location. And we hope that we've shown that we've done this, as we believe the project has gotten significantly better as the result of the comments and feedback we've received from you. This project is at a reduced density that is responsible and is in a comparable level to the surrounding area, a project that provides an unprecedented public benefit in scale and scope for a mixed-use project in Blacksburg, a project that is sensitive to the concerns of the adjacent single-family neighborhood, a project that provides on-site affordable in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, a project that now appeals to a wide range of renters with 36% of the units rented by the unit, not the bed, a project that aligns and advances the town's most important priorities and goals outlined in the comprehensive plan. And finally, a project that sets the bar high for future development in Blacksburg. The 702 UCB project has over $8.5 million in public benefits and proffers, exceeding any recent project with a higher percentage of affordable units, greater cash contributions, and more extensive corridor improvements than either Tech Terrace or 801 North Main. This is not simply student housing. It's a model for equitable, sustainable, and community-oriented redevelopment. In partnership with Habitat for Humanity of the New River Valley, that exemplifies the kind of public-private collaboration that Blacksburg is championing through recent initiatives like the Airport Road Townhomes or the Legacy on Main. By providing transitional housing, financial education, and a pathway to homeownership, we are building on and amplifying the town's efforts to support essential workers, families, and those striving to house stability. The Bridge Housing Program would be the first of its kind, one that Blacksburg can be integrally involved in creating a nationally repeatable program and a path from housing instability to housing ownership. We've listened closely to the McBride Village neighborhood and town staff and understand that not everyone in this room is supportive of this project. But we've worked hard to address these comments and believe we've gone above and beyond, converting that feedback into binding commitments, noise and privacy, fixed non-operable windows facing McBride Village, no balconies along that property, a fully enclosed garage, and a strict noise addendum in all leases, lighting and buffering, fully shielded downward directed dark sky lighting, removed the pool from the roof, preserved and enhanced a tree buffer with a 2-to-1 replacement under a certified arborist supervision, physical separation, a solid 8-foot tall privacy fence. We'd go to 10 if we'd be allowed to. Not only allows for resident-only egress along UCB. We have no entrances on the back of this property. Nobody can get back there. We've also increased setbacks adjacent to these homes by 40% since we started. We recognize that this is scary and that fear causes all of us to focus on the worst possible outcome. We've worked tirelessly to address those fears. We've reduced the project scale by eliminating 83 beds and increasing setbacks by 40%. The building's 6 stories, shorter than comparable precedents, and overall density is 55% lower than 801 in Tech Terrace. Open space exceeds zoning requirements, and the unit mix reduces oversized floor plans to attract a broader renter pool. We commissioned an independent parking study looking at local comparable Blacksburg properties to show actual demand on those properties was 0.50 parking stalls per bed, confirming our 0.57 ratio is right-sized. Virginia Tech's biennial transportation survey shows fewer students driving and more using BT and biking, further reducing car dependence. Our transportation demand management program includes unbundling parking, permit management, on-site bike facilities, and real-time transportation information. Concerns that the project will depress home values are not supported by empirical research. The provided analysis that you have finds that well-placed, high-quality student housing and mixed-use developments is neutral to positive for adjacent single-family values, and that remediating vacant, obsolescent commercial sites tends to increase surrounding home values. Our $100 million commitment is far more likely to enhance values than to detract values. We provided evidence that purpose-built housing is an effective documented measure that serves to reduce student rentals in single-family neighborhoods, like McBride Village, that are typically non-supervised rentals, an issue that's been raised by our neighbors, and our commitment is that this would be a managed asset. This redevelopment proposal directly advances the Town Council's top priorities for 2025 and beyond, expanding affordable and middle-class housing opportunities, promoting sustainability, and investing in multimodal transportation, aligning with the town's vision of moving people, not cars. We're committing to up to 14% deed-restricted affordable units reserved to households between 50 to 80% AMI, protected by a 50-year deed restriction in compliance with the HUD home standards, plus a $1 million cash contribution to the town's affordable housing fund. Together with our on-site units, this forms the largest affordable proffer for a private mixed-use development in the history of Blacksburg. The project transforms obsolete commercial space into a vibrant mixed-use community with new retail, structured parking, and ground floor activation, directly supporting reinvestment along major corridors and in UDAs. We've heard about pedestrian safety on Price's Fork, and we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're proffering almost $1.3 million in pedestrian and transportation improvements, including widening sidewalks, landings, visibility lighting, and a covered bus shelter. Advancing improvements outside current VDOT Smart Scale OP funding so the community sees these benefits now. UCB and West Campus Drive intersections combined, as you saw earlier, have 50% of the pedestrian crossings that Toms Creek does. The town's investment in the new transit center and expanded bus routes reflects a commitment to multimodal transportation. Our project supports this vision by providing real-time transit information, on-site bike facilities, and a covered bus shelter, making it easier for residents to choose sustainable transportation options and reducing car dependence. The building will be LEED certified, or NGBS certified as a sustainable project with energy efficient systems, dark sky compliant fixtures, and robust stormwater management. Blacksburg's Code of Ordinances sets clear standards for noise and light control, and our project goes beyond those requirements. Fixed non-operable windows, an enclosed garage, and strict noise addendums proactively address potential disturbances. Fully shielded downward direct lighting and headlighting shielding at garage openings ensure compliance with the town's dark sky policies, minimizing light pollution and preserving neighborhood tranquility. By converting obsolete commercial space into a vibrant mixed-use retail and housing project, our proposal aligns with the council's goals for corridor reinvestment. The Planning Commission recommended approval, and that highlights the project's strengths: generous open space, robust affordable housing commitments, and a thoughtful design in response to the community feedback. These endorsements reflect a rigorous review process and a shared commitment to making Blacksburg a better place for all residents. But this project has gotten better, and it's gotten better because of the feedback that you have given us. Those improvements have continued to shape this project unlike anything Blacksburg has seen. Why does this approval matter? We need affordable housing. We need market rate housing. We need student housing. We need to relieve the pressure on single-family neighborhoods by redirecting student demands into purpose-built, well-managed housing. We need to replace obsolescent, vacant commercial buildings with vibrant mixed-use communities that strengthen the corridor. We advance the town's goals in sustainability, in mobility, in public safety, including almost $1.3 million in improvements to pedestrian and transit infrastructure. We provide a model for future UCB reinvestment: structured parking, multimodal design, on-site affordable, and a strong management. We call this a call to action. Council, this is a rare opportunity to deliver on the promises of the comprehensive plan while directly addressing neighborhood concerns with measured, enforceable commitments. We've listened, adapted, and committed, voluntarily and in writing, to the policies of this community. We respectfully urge you to support this rezoning and help us build a project that leaves Blacksburg better than we found it. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question of the applicant? Yeah. I just have a question about the affordable housing proffer. So because Blacksburg is a college town, we usually express in terms of bedrooms instead of units, but the affordable housing proffer says 13 to 14% will be affordable housing based on units, but those units, if I'm correct, are one bedrooms or studios. So it will essentially, if you were to count it based on number of bedrooms, it would be closer to 4 to 5%. Is that correct, or?
Based on the bedrooms, yes. And the reason we had previously given a unit mix, because of our partnership, and Jim will come up with Habitat later to talk a little bit more about this, but because of our partnership with them, we have looked at trying to modify the mix a little bit to add some 2 bedrooms into that, right? And that was part of our proffer to address prior comments and concerns we heard about renting by the unit, not the bed. So the way that we discussed this proffer was to do up to 14% of the units as affordable, knowing that we may have a little bit of flexibility to, again, add some 2 bedrooms to that versus just studios and 1 bedrooms.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I had a couple of questions for you, too, that I
please.
got in the audience right before we started, there are windows in the studio apartments, correct?
The windows in every bedroom.
I thought that was the case, but I wanted to double check. And could you talk a little bit more about the parking study that you all conducted to arrive at that parking ratio?
Yeah, so we looked at the two most recent student properties that had been completed here in town. So over a course of 2 days, on multiple times during those days, we actually went out, and you'll see it right here, we went out and did physical counts of parking spaces. So we went during times that we figured most people would be back, right, and not at school. And so we came back, and as you can see here, we came back with ratios at those properties that were, again, falling below what we're proposing today, right? So we feel like, again, there was justification and some nexus that it wasn't something that we were just kind of pulling out of thin air. We actually went to the comps, did physical observations of how many spaces were available. We had all the information on how many total spaces those properties had, total number of bedrooms, and just ran the math from there to determine what our ratio should be. And so we ended up going to 0.57, which we feel like, again, is a little bit over that, primarily to help address some of the concerns about where those cars would go if they didn't park here.
The two complexes that you did that study at were
the Hub and Alec, what was the other one? The Union.
Just out of curiosity, how does that stack up to a national average at a complex like that?
It varies market to market, but we are seeing the same similarities that the study that VT put together, that you're seeing less dependence on automobiles and more preference for other modes of transportation. But again, it's a wide brush, so it's hard to just say specifically. But again, generally speaking, that's what we're seeing across the country.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm going to open it now to public comment on Ordinance 2094, the rezoning on UCB. And when you come forward, please give us your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Joe Garst, and I live at 717 Burris Drive in McBride Village. I'm not here to speak as a resident of McBride Village, but more as a citizen of Blacksburg. I think the decision we have tonight is huge and affects the whole community. It's, are we going to allow a huge apartment complex to be built in one of our two designated commercial corridors there? And I think that's the issue. I think that the conversation has sort of strayed from that in the past. I think we've become sort of laser focused on McBride Village, and I think we've let some false narratives and false dichotomies slip into the conversation. And by that, I mean an example. I hear some of the arguments, well, we have this big, beautiful apartment building, and it's nice. You look at the pictures and everything on this hand, and on this hand, we have an old, antiquated office building that's not very economically viable. Which one do you want? I don't think that's not our only choice. I think we have much, much better choices. The second one would be, I've heard people say, well, we have this apartment complex, and if you don't approve it, we have an owner over here who by rights could build something that's even worse than that. So we have bad and worse. That's not a good decision either for this. You know, I think there's much more opportunity. And I make just 3 points would be, this isn't a one and done deal. This is a tremendous opportunity for a developer. These are reputable people with building apartments, and they're good people, but this is the wrong place for that. If you deny this, and in a year or two, if you want to do that and use the commercial zone to do that, you could do it. I guarantee you're going to have people that are going to jump at this opportunity. When you have someone willing to give $1 million to the housing fund and millions of dollars in this, it just ought to be an indication of how profitable this is. And in the future, it's going to be profitable to people too. Second point is, it's not like if we build this housing project here, if we don't build it here, we can't build it. There's nowhere else in Blacksburg we can build it. We have so many options to do that. We're talking about building it here in a commercial zone. And when you talk about hypotheticals of the owner doing something terrible, I have a different hypothetical. Mine is a vibrant commercial center there with, maybe a upscale restaurant, a clothing sales store, a new medical facility, child care, just all kinds of things, providing services to the community, which we need. So the third thing is I sort of have a vision. I think this whole dialogue is going to change. I think eventually Virginia Tech is going to take ownership of some of this housing project. There's so many options over there to do housing, and it could be on all kinds of formats. You could do it like on the airport authority. You could lease the land for $1 and have commercial people come in and build it, you know. The same thing they did for the Greek section over there. Those buildings weren't built by Tech. They were built, you know, by the sororities and fraternities. So anyway, I thank you for your time tonight, and regardless of which way you vote, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Lorraine, did you get his name? Thank you.
Good evening, Town Council. My name is Mark Embry. My family lives at 852 Hutchison Drive, but I'm here this evening to present on behalf of my neighbor and amazing colleague, Kaylin Carey, who's unable to be with us tonight because she's traveling overseas. During the past 2 months, Kaylin and others have collected a petition with 168 signatures from our neighbors strongly opposing this rezoning project, which have been prepared and are here for you tonight. This vote this evening from the beginning is centered on the town comprehensive plan. She wasn't here to hear your comments, Mayor. Voting yes for this rezoning would directly contradict the town plan and even the town council's own rulings, as the town council only recently passed a resolution stating that the comprehensive plan will be used to evaluate proposals for student housing. During the past 2 months, our neighborhood has learned a lot about the town comprehensive plan, and the more we've learned about it, the more impressed we are by it. The town plan is a thoughtfully crafted document developed by our community over multiple years with the input of many community groups. The plan is an important legacy of the current town council, and there is much of which to be proud, the effort and the careful planning it represents. Voting to contradict the town comprehensive plan undermines all the years of work that went into making the plan and silences the voices in Blacksburg that contributed to its development. The plan is at its most critical and needed in high-stakes decisions such as this one, when it provides a strategic North Star for guiding our future. The UCB landscape is rapidly changing, especially given recently approved new student housing on campus that would be accessed via UCB, as well as the recent land swap that encompasses a massive tract across the street. It is also Blacksburg's only commercial corridor off Main Street. The rush to vote against the plan and approve this rezoning request is short-sighted and impedes Blacksburg's future growth and commercial development, especially because we have no idea what development will be happening across the street. There are multiple recently approved student housing projects, including on campus, that follow the town plan. Why can't we see how those shake out first and take a pause on this rezoning request? If the council truly wants high-density student housing at this site, I encourage the council and developers to go through the proper protocols of updating the town plan in its next revision to designate it as such. A plan is a plan for a reason. If the town plan was updated, then businesses at this site wouldn't have to worry about being relocated to a glorified dorm, and the McBride Village neighborhood could prepare. Finally, contradicting the town plan sets a dangerous precedent and opens the door to the next developers who want to buy McAdoo's and other adjacent properties to tear down our commercial storefronts and our beloved daycares such as KinderCare to build yet more high-rise student buildings. I understand the need for growth and housing near Virginia Tech, but it must be responsible, balanced, and community-centered. I urge the town council to reject this rezoning request and follow the town's long-term existing plans and vision. As the vote in this year's session, as one of the last votes in this year's session, this decision will mark your legacy on the town council and have a major impact on Blacksburg's future. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
My name is Harold Bell. I live at 708 Circle Drive in Blacksburg. We've lived in McBride Village since 1967. I was quite impressed by that presentation a few minutes ago, particularly the part that said our property values just might go up if this project was approved. That's a good one. My main comments, or my comments entirely, will be devoted to how this affects McBride Village. I will leave it to others here this evening to comment on the parking problems, the traffic problems, and the safety problems. The developers will imply that our neighborhood is on the verge of collapse, with houses owned by remote landlords occupied by students. McBride Village is not on the verge of dying. We have a school, we've got 2 churches, a Jewish student center, Lutheran student center, a playground, and a lot of single-family houses occupied by people who pay taxes and plan to try to live here for a while. A few days ago, I drove the length of Hutchison Drive. Rounding the corner and continuing south, I tried to visualize how this street would look with a large, tall building erected on the property adjacent to the houses on the west side of the street. You can't help but think that there would be considerable negative impact, but the developers have not provided any renditions to show this. So I'm going to try to do it for them. The slide you're looking at over here is a Google Earth photo of Hutchison Drive going from north to south. And I want to call your attention just to a couple of things. Behringer Drive goes off to the left in the middle of the slide. Burris Drive is way down the far end. I want to call your attention to three houses. You can barely read the numbers. 813, I will call the Tate House. 815 is the Frith House, and across the street is the Kelsey House. Kelseys are here. Before it snowed, I took a picture at the intersection of Hutchinson and Behringer, looking across the street toward University City Boulevard, and that's the slide here. The Tate House is on the left. You can't see it, it's behind the trees. The Frith House is on the right. And the building you see with the brownish roof in the far background is the empty building, 840 University City Boulevard.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bell. We do have a time limit of 3 minutes, and there are a lot of people here who want to speak. So can I ask you to summarize?
Yes, look at the next slide. This shows what it's going to look like if that building is put where they say it's going to be. And this is from the Kelsey's front yard. It's just unacceptable, I think. We could make the same presentation for any number of houses down the street. So, in our opinion, this project should not be built now, should not be built ever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry I ran over.
No, you're good. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Annika Schmier. I live at 709 Hutchison Drive, which is right in the middle of this project. And thanks to all who have come to my backyard to see the potential impact. Imagine Blacksburg 20 years from now. Will it still feel like the connected, intentional community that we all cherish, or will short-term decisions compromise its character? That's the question before us tonight. Thank you to the council members, as I said, for your time and thoughtful engagement on this matter. I also appreciate the effort of the developers for addressing many concerns about the building and its location on the proposed property. However, I would note that their cooperation is not a reason to reward them with this project. It's a business strategy. I stand before you as a mom of 2 daughters, a full-time working parent, and most importantly, a proud resident of Blacksburg, a town I chose as our forever home because of its unique sense of community. Blacksburg is special, and decisions made here will shape its character for decades to come. I am not opposed to change. In fact, I've spent much of my career driving it in the corporate world, but change must be intentional and aligned with the town's vision. Comprehensive plan exists for that reason. If student housing is truly intended for this location, then the plan should be amended first. Without that alignment, we will be setting a precedent that undermines thoughtful planning. This proposal, unlike others, is unlike others because of its immediate border directly adjacent to a low-density neighborhood. Commercial use would better complement our community's rhythm and preserve the balance between residential life and economic vitality. While I understand the need for student housing, we must also consider the realities like the enrollment cliff and impact of projects that are already underway. I fully understand the concerns that the mayor has raised around the BOV decision, and I am sure it must be super frustrating. However, I would highlight we have a brand new governor, and we have a board of visitors that rotate, and those decisions can easily be reversed, although I recognize that this is a time of frustration, and those changes can happen as early as next month. I also understand there is already plans underway for future development on campus that's likely to be approved. Rushing forward now could create long-term challenges for residents and businesses alike. I love this town, and I plan to live here for as long as possible. I've even recruited family to join me here because of what Blacksburg represents. Let's protect that. Let's ensure growth strengthens and not erodes the qualities that make this community exceptional. For these reasons, I urge you to vote no on this rezoning proposal. Say yes to intentional planning, yes to preserving neighborhood integrity, and yes to a future that benefits all members of Blacksburg, not just today, but for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Pack. I live at 522 Prices Fork Road. I developed this property in the 90s and maintained a vacancy rate between 5 and 10% until the pandemic, and now the vacancy rate is around 60%. I can't rent the office space, which means I can't sell the property as an income-producing property. I have no choice other than to sell it for a different use, and I think this is student housing is it. Blacksburg needs housing, student housing, apartments, and affordable housing, as well as modern commercial space. These developers have addressed all of these needs. This project is the best use for this property and is well-designed development. I appreciate the town council, the town staff, and the planning commission for working with these developers and to get the very best project for this particular property. I grew up in Blacksburg, and I have seen many changes. Blacksburg is a small town with a big university. There is constant change. For a project like this, we must make decisions not for today, but for 5, 10, and 15 years down the road. I approve of this project, and I hope the town council will too. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is David Nodder. We live at 1501 Boxwood Drive. And a lot of what we've heard have been the impacts of this development on the neighborhoods to the east. I want to give you a view from the west. From where we are, my family, 2 retirees and another adult, make probably 40 trips a week through University Boulevard. We know it well. We know to be careful. We know to watch out for the U-turns and the line from Starbucks out into the University Boulevard. We know to never try and make a left-hand turn from University Mall into Glade Road, across from Kroger, because it just doesn't work. You've got to have another way to do it. We also look at the traffic assessment that comes with this development. And there are several different scenarios in the traffic assessment, but all of them basically say we're looking at 1,000 vehicles a day moving down University Boulevard, and we're going to add 1,000 vehicles a day moving down University Boulevard, doubling the traffic. But that's not the only thing that's going to happen. If we look at the proposed Glade Spring Crossing or Glade Heights development across 460, that development now, if it moves forward, as it seems like it will, is going to produce all of that traffic onto Glade Road. 95% of it is expected to head east, which will take it toward University Boulevard, and 45 to 50% of it is expected to go onto University Boulevard. The total number of trips predicted per day from that development is 1,700. So the joint effects of these two developments will be approximately a tripling in the number of vehicles transiting University Boulevard. That doesn't account for the additional pedestrian traffic, which we know will be significant. I think all of us applaud anything that can be done to improve pedestrian safety, but given that the main pedestrian flow in the morning will be across University Boulevard to catch the buses, anything we do to make it easier to cross makes it harder for the vehicles to move down that street. So I really am concerned. The personal transportation devices that we see a lot of students use, I really applaud the ones who use them responsibly, but the ones who choose to be pedestrians when it's convenient and use the sidewalks, and then become vehicles when it's convenient and use the streets, create a real problem. I appreciate the comments of our mayor about the comprehensive plan, but I think everything we do with the comprehensive plan to make an ad hoc adjustment is going to lead to more ad hoc adjustments. And that worries me, especially as I look at the foundation taking ownership of the land to the west of Old Glade Road. So thank you. I know my time is up.
Thank you. Who would like to speak next?
Thank you. My name is Kent Roberts. I'm with Cushman Wakefield Tallheimer. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm part of the team that represents the current owner. My purpose here this evening is to comment a bit about the office market in the Blacksburg area. It is a small market. So total office is about 4,300,000 in the greater Blacksburg area. Of that, about 1,720,000 or 730,000 is what I would consider to be the class of office that exists currently on this property. That's about 40% of the total market. The availability rate in that class of office is 5.9%, reported at 5.9%. Difference between vacancy rate and availability rate is the availability rate takes into account not only vacant property, and we've got gracious plenty vacant property in this vacant space in this project, but also what is expected to come on the market in the relatively near term. So it's a combination of those two things, and I think is really a more important statistic than vacancy alone. As Bob said, the availability or the vacancy rate is right around 60%. The availability rate is higher than that, about 66% of office. Clearly, office in this project or in this area is not the best use of this property and is not sustainable. This project presents an opportunity to get rid of or to redevelop, rather, this obsolete and office that there's very little demand for, with a project that meets many of the town's goals and objectives. While it may be outside of the designated area of the comprehensive plan, it does meet a great many of the town's objectives. And the developer went through those. I won't take up your time going through that list of items again, but it does address the need for infill development, reduces pressure on single-family neighborhoods, supports walkability, bicycling, and transit, reinforces commercial use, and it is an opportunity to put a real first-class development on this land that enhances not only the neighborhood but enhances the community or the town as in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Town Council members. My name is Chris Mullins. I'm the owner of Zeppeli's Restaurant at 810 University City Boulevard. I'm here to express my support for the mixed-use redevelopment of the buildings. As a longstanding business owner in Blacksburg, I've started to witness some of the firsthand challenges the University City corridor can face. In recent years, that's been defined by, like they said, the vacancy of a lot of their office and retail spaces down there. Our location specifically is in the back row, so there's not much frontage, which this is going to offer some of that also. The project brings a level of investment to the area that seems to be very much needed when you look at the situation. I'm aware the project has detractors, but I urge you to consider the redevelopment as it aligns with some of the goals outlined by the town, encouraging reinvestment, enhancing infrastructure, expanding housing and commercial options in a location well suited for growth. For more than 20 years in the restaurant business and following the loss of my partner last year, I'm preparing for a new chapter in life. Through recent discussions with Josh and Alec from Ascent, we've reached a solution that allows me to reset and focus on my family while also having the opportunity to return to the new development. I'm grateful for their collaborative approach with local stakeholders. Their willingness to listen and adapt reflects the kind of partnership our community needs. I'm excited about the prospect of future tenancy in the redeveloped property and believe this project can have a positive impact. I respectfully ask the Town Council to support this project, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marion Graham, and I live on 703 Hutchison Drive. I'm very concerned about the proposed development. I know there have been changes, but it doesn't change the concerns we have had. There's still a 6-story building that will block the sunlight and overlooks our house. There will be no privacy. We have windows across the whole back of our house where we eat on our sunroom and upstairs in my office. There's still 836 people. I can't imagine that more people in the area. Addition of 836 people will make a dangerous situation even worse. Prices Fork in UCB does not have the infrastructure to support that and the many people. There will be more cars and people, but a major concern of mine is the scooters and the bicycles. They are very dangerous in the middle of the cars. Also, a lot of students will go through excuse me, the strip mall where CVS is. That is also a very congested area. I'm very much against the proposal of this development, and I hope you consider the concerns we have and vote against this development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Bob Radspinner, and I live at 830 McBride Drive. And I'm here really to support my neighbors up in Hutchinson. My wife and I are both retired, and we moved here in 2015. For the past 10 years, we've experienced the growth, the traffic, the issues associated with the increased need for student housing, the density it causes. So my concerns are pretty simple. I'm really concerned about the choke point that's going to be around the Price's Fork and the University Boulevard coming out, and also the fact that we're going to have a high rise against an established residential neighborhood. So I'm asking you all tonight, if you will, support your constituents in McBride Village and vote against this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Anna Marshall Baker. I live on Woodland Drive. Rather than repeat facts that you have before you, I'm going to tell you about a day in the life of a resident in this building. I'm an architecture student, about 19 years old, and I live in a 4-bedroom, 4-bath apartment that is 550 feet, nearly the length of 2 football fields, away from the elevator bank at the entrance of the building. It's a long walk, especially carrying groceries and such, but at least I don't have a baby in a stroller, tote bags on both shoulders, and a 4-year-old in tow. I couldn't use the elevator that's 150 feet away because there wasn't parking at that end of the building. My car is in front of the community services building. The parking garage is full. My roommates and I have all have private bathrooms, but they're lined up along the wall, along the other side of the hallway. The bedroom at the end of the hall is paired with the first closest bathroom, which is 27 feet away. My bathroom is 17 feet away, but the last 4 feet are open to the kitchen, dining area, and living room, so I have to be careful about who's here and what I'm wearing. This is more of a problem if I have to get up during the night to go to the bathroom. After a shower, I pull boxes with underwear and socks from underneath my bed because there are no drawers in my room. Sheets and towels are under there too. All my clothes, regardless of season or activity, are crammed into the 6-foot closet, along with shoes, boots, sports equipment, and dirty clothes. The one shelf holds sweaters, hoodies, sweatshirts, and a box with gloves, hats, and scarves. My books are stacked in the corner because I don't have any bookshelves. My printer is on the floor at the foot of the bed. The 30-inch desktop is the only surface in the bedroom that has my TV, computer, charging station, and a table lamp. To work, I sit on the floor or I sit on the bed. The community room on the 2nd floor was occupied when I went to meet friends and work on a project. Despite the size of this building, there isn't anywhere else to go to meet together. Instead, we went to the studio apartment of one member of our group. The living space is small. There was barely room for the 3 of us to sit on the floor and lay out model building materials. There were no windows in the space, only artificial light, and like the corridor, there is no access to any natural conditions, no seasonal or daily cycles of light, no sense of time of day or weather, no breezes or sounds or views of nature. It was very late and very dark when I went up to my apartment. I passed through 5 blind corridors. These spaces are worrisome because as I walk toward a wall and make a 90-degree turn, I can't see what's in that corner until I'm in the corner. These are prime areas for assaults and should never be designed into any building. The monotony, can I just go really? The monotony of artificial lights, blah, 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 converge to make this a frightful and dreadful space. I don't like this building, and I don't like living here. Please don't support its structure.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Pat Garst. I live at 717 Burris Drive and have for the last 26 years. My comments may differ from most perspectives. I will state that I am opposed to the rezoning for the following reasons. Safety. The intersection of Prices Fork Road and UCB has a D rating and is the 9th most dangerous in the state of Virginia. The roadway should provide for safe passage for school buses, Blacksburg Transit, emergency response vehicles, pedestrians, and patrons of the existing businesses in the commercial corridor, as well as for students and professors. No applications for improvement have been issued. A 5-year period from application to approval has not been initiated to my knowledge. Has the council considered how this project will affect response times for our emergency responders? On any given day, sirens and horns can be heard on Prices Fork as emergency response vehicles attempt to get through gridlocked intersections. Adding additional cars and/or pedestrian traffic to this corridor, 800 residents and their guests, without improvements in the foreseeable future, will increase the burden on our first responders and possibly affect the safety of all the residents of the town. Utilities. Has anyone considered the amount of sewage that will be generated by the addition of 800 plus residents? That has been addressed, and it's inadequate. Is the existing infrastructure adequate for a project of this size? Improvements to utilities may take a combination of state and local cooperation. What is the process, and can we, as permanent residents, be assured that the problems which arise will be dealt with by our council in a timely manner? New River Valley Cares. In recognition that Blacksburg works in cooperation with Montgomery County, schools, businesses, and social services, to name a few, and the entire New Valley region for services to all citizens of the region, the proximity to the New River Valley Cares building is a concern. Access is vital to these citizens and often difficult with the existing traffic problems. Adding 800 plus more vehicles to the area without adequate parking would be a disservice to those dependent on the services provided. We are a small town with big city problems. I recognize the need for housing in Blacksburg. As a volunteer in the past for Micah's Backpack, Interfaith Food Pantry, and Montgomery County Schools, I support our town's effort to recognize the needs of all citizens, and I applaud the council's efforts to provide affordable housing. It is needed. I might support this particular project if it were in the zone plan for student housing. It is not. Rezoning will set a precedent for future housing, changing the face and livability of the town. I ask the town council to reject the proposed rezoning.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eliza Cote, and I live at 707 Hutchison Drive. Thank you, council members, for allowing the people of Blacksburg to have their voices heard tonight. I greatly appreciate it. I won't take a lot of your time, but with these 3 minutes, I intend to explain how I'm not against the growth of Blacksburg, but I'm against how we are going about it today. My family moved to 707 Hutchison Drive in March of 2006, and I've lived there my entirety of my life besides my time at college. The University City Boulevard Road is not built to handle this much traffic. We are already seeing issues with road and pedestrian safety. Putting a 6-story building, adding thousands of more people into a space that was only made for a couple hundred is unsafe. We should learn from our past mistakes. Right on the corner of Price's Fork and University City Boulevard back in 2014 sat a 2-story Holiday Inn hotel. That was it. Now, in its place, there are 2 4-story hotels, along with a shopping center and a CVS. So much stuff cannot keep being pushed together in this way. This is dangerous, and it isn't the safest, most effective way to grow. In conclusion, my main concern is safety of the Blacksburg citizens, and in my opinion, building anything before fixing the pedestrian safety would be irresponsible. The time now is not to grow, it is to make sure that our pedestrians are safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Sean Brown. I live at 701 Washington Street, apartment number 6. I've been a resident of Blacksburg since 2006, and when I came here as a transfer sophomore from Virginia Commonwealth University. I chose to stay here for a long time because this was an affordable place to live. I also chose to stay here because I've come to enjoy the intimate feeling that this town offers. As time marches on, change is inevitable. Planning for the future is hard and is often difficult to anticipate. I travel down Price's Fork Road and access University City Boulevard 5 to 6 times a week to go to and from my job. I have many reasons why tonight this is my first time I stand before you and voice my opinions, but my voice and my message is clear. More of this same thinking that has permeated this chamber for too long must stop. I've spent more than enough of my own free time that I wish to admit to you all tonight to try to figure out this project to the best of my ability. Mr. Ford, I have to quote you here because during the meeting during Election Day, you said something that has stuck in my head ever since. We don't create two classes of citizens. You are not a resident/occupied homeowner, and you are not a resident/renter. You are just a resident. Mr. Ford, you are correct. The Planning Commission does not create two classes, but this council does. In that same meeting, Commissioner member Ms. Susanna Reinhart lamented over this town being asked, yet forced, to solve Virginia Tech's problems that come up to their lust for growth. As I stated earlier, I work on this side of town, and I've seen what the poor planning and poor thinking can lead to, and it's nothing but problems at that intersection of UCB and Price's Fork. I do not know what this town's official relationship is with the university, but I feel like it's strained. And from the mayor and the vice mayor with what happened with that land transfer to me on the outside looking in, that proves it. However, I feel like this town, when tech comes calling, rolls over like a golden retriever that's happy to be pet. It's time. It is more than beyond time to start remembering that there are your full-time residents and the people who we must serve, and they are very well served right now, who live here for only maybe 9 months a year. This plan is not right for right now. This town is growing. There's a lot of things that are needed, but right now we cannot put the cart in front of the horse. Thank you for your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Helen Frank, and I live at 821 McBride Drive. And I'll just keep this simple since my neighbors probably say it better. My husband and I have lived in McBride Village since 2011. We have 2 children, ages 8 and 13, and we've enjoyed the proximity to our neighbors downtown and the VT campus. Like our neighbors, we've seen many houses become VT student rentals, resulting in increases in parked cars, noisy parties, and more generally increases in traffic through our neighborhood and around it, which is concerning for safety and convenience. The proposed UCB rezoning does not fit into our community, as it does not adequately account for the greater strain to parking and vehicle volume, nor safety consideration for our general area. I urge you to vote against this proposal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Taylor. I reside in Christiansburg, Virginia. I spend most of my time at 700 University City Boulevard as I'm the executive director of New River Valley Community Services. As the council is very aware, we are a 830 employee behavioral health nonprofit provider here mainly in Blacksburg. Our largest office space is at 700 University City Boulevard. I'll probably echo a lot of the complaints you've already heard tonight, but we are against the rezoning. We have an easement with the 702 building. After seeing the plans, that basically where we park and where we share parking will be wiped out with the front facing towards UCB area. Overflow parking is a huge issue in our parking lot, as well as parking lots of the hotels. We have an easement with the hotels as well. Doing away with our easement area will only push students and their visitors into our parking lot and into the hotel parking lots, an issue that we already struggle with. As you're also aware, NRVCS has a long presence in Blacksburg, and this rezoning will likely push us out of our current location and cause us to find housing elsewhere for our 180 plus employees who go to work at 700 UCB. The congestion, I echo the congestion. Just walking to the many places we have available for lunch is very dangerous. It's kind of a running joke at work about how dangerous it is. I had the opportunity today to go to a meeting in Giles County and basically ride up UCB back towards our building, and I just can imagine adding more congestion. At NRVCS, we really value our partnerships, especially in the New River Valley. I do commend Josh He's reached out multiple times, trying to kind of just discuss options. However, what we try to do every time is we try to create a win-win with our relationships, and really we haven't heard any solutions that would be wins for us if this were to be approved. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Gladhorn. I live at 825 McBride Drive, and I am one of the 167 people who signed a petition that oppose this project. There isn't much I can add right now to what my colleagues have said. Everything they've said is against this project is correct. I want to add the fact that I live closer to Kroger's than I do Food Line. But because of the congestion over Kroger's, I choose to go over to Food Line. Not because they have any better prices or anything. It's just that I can avoid all of the BS that goes on University Boulevard. All right, so once again, I want to thank you for your time. I don't have much to say other than what my colleagues have said. I hope that you would oppose this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Beth Kelsey. I live at 714 Behringer Drive, and I've lived there since 1989. And our house was in one of the slides that Mr. Bell provided for you. So you get an idea of what our view is. I have emailed each of you and received responses from Liam and Susan and Jerry, and I thank you for that. And I'm here to ask each of you to vote no on the proposal. Liam, vote no. Lauren, vote no. Susan, vote no. Leslie, vote no. Michael, vote no. Susan, vote no. Jerry, vote no. Please. Thank you.
I didn't expect that I would go up a second time tonight because I thought this project would be much more supported, but I see it's much more controversial than I expected it to be. As I said earlier, I live on UCB and I don't have a car. It is one of the few places in Blacksburg where you can live without a car due to its proximity to Kroger and walkability to campus. Very few students like me have an option for that. And not having a car saves a lot of money, helps the environment, and it reduces congestion. I reject the idea that pedestrian traffic is a form of congestion. Rather, it is a signal to improve pedestrian infrastructure and make University City Boulevard one of the few walkable mixed-use neighborhoods in our town. I know many residents are very skeptical of the project, but again, there's just not that many mixed-use areas in Blacksburg. There's perhaps downtown, but there's only a small boutique grocery store there. It's hard to walk to any. So again, as I said when I came up here for the last project, please weigh all your misgivings against the idea that this is going to be 800 homes for people.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Steve Hutzel. I've lived in McBride Village for 30 years, almost 30 years now. I want to challenge the developer that bringing this type of housing is going to reduce the amount of students going into these houses, the private homes, and that's not correct. Since I've been there, I would say our community or development is probably about 25% now students living in there. And here recently we're having parties, and I just envisioned with this additional complex we're going to have more people, more parties in our neighborhood. I've got grandchildren around in my house now on weekends. They come and visit us. I hope to God we don't see any fast driving students coming in through our neighborhood. So that's what I'm really afraid of. So I voted for this petition to reject it. So That's my position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council. I'm Price Gutschall. I'm with Cushman & Wakefield Tallheimer, part of the project team on behalf of the owner of the property. I have been in commercial real estate for almost 12 years now, working primarily in office use, with some retail and a lot of experience up here as well. That goes to say, we were brought onto this, formed a good relationship to try to help with office space, particularly in a post-COVID environment. And that's true everywhere that you're seeing with office space is major changes. And one of those changes is that old office space has become obsolete. The space there, which I should point out, we have had on the market for a long time for lease. We've shown it several times. We are below market on our asking rent there. And when we look at the asking rent, we're looking across the market here in Blacksburg. We're below market there, and we're still not able to get that traction. That's primarily because the amount of term that people are able to commit as an office user right now, given the changes in work, life, and how they're using office, but also that part of that initiative or part of that goal that a lot of employers have when they are in the market for office space, they need a place that is modern, functional office space. They feel like it's going to bring their employees back to the office or want to be back in the office. Right now, that space is not viable for that. And you can tear that down and build something new that would be viable for it with the rents, the top of the market rents that you could possibly get here. It would be far more expensive to be able to do that. That's just to sort of double down on the fact that that is not the best use for that property. It's in the back of the property as well. And as a retail component, it also doesn't lend itself very well. But what these developers have done and what they've come in, I think very smartly, is also a trend you see in a lot of markets of this size, is in order to do new construction in commercial space, you also have to have another use. It has to be a mixed use in order to justify the building of it, the leasing of it, and the ability to lease it, build it, and make it an attractive space. What this will do to UCB is make it a much more attractive space, a much more attractive corridor for commercial use, and I think that you all should consider that in the future of how this corridor will develop. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Bud Bennett. I live at 714 Behringer Drive. I'd just like to reflect on what Mr. Bell and Mrs. Graham had said. Also, this building is too tall. It's too big. My house is directly across the street from it, and all the renderings of this building they're taller than the houses across the street from me. I'm not going to see the sun set anymore when this building comes up, and that really, really disturbs me. I've got gardens and flowers and all sorts of things, and now we're going to have this building that I can see out of all of my windows. Anytime I'm on my porch, anytime I'm in the yard, this is what I'm going to be looking at, is that building. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. And I ask you to vote no.
Thank you.
Members, my name is Eric Frith. I live at 103 Cohee Road in Blacksburg. The residence that was referenced in photographs earlier was my parents' residence for about 59 years that backs up to, it's on the side of Hutchison Drive that would back up to the planned development. I understand the town is working through a lot of competing issues, but I haven't heard anybody bring up yet the fact that, in my opinion, and what I've read, urban planning many times calls for a transitional area between very tall buildings and one-story buildings. And this proposal would be 6 stories right next to many one-story houses. with basements, but most of them are not even two-story houses. And I think that's a concern that a lot of people have. Nobody has specifically put it that way, though, and I think that's what's missing is the transition from a taller, more intensive development to single-family residences. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
I'll try to be brief. My name is Nancy Lowry. I live at 821 Hutchison Drive. And I am appealing for your help once again. The proposed structure on UCB is in reality, I mean, let's face it, it's just a glorified off-campus dorm with a pool and only a token amount of affordable housing thrown in to justify it. This is not what families in Blacksburg need. Teachers and police officers and all of our people in services. No one with small children wants to raise their children in a dorm, as Michael brought up, the studio or the one bedroom. And when you have children, they go to sleep at 7 or 8. But the town ordinance for noise violations does not kick in until 10 and is rarely enforced. It's happened to me many times. There is a disconnect between what builders consider affordable housing and what people actually want. Starter homes should be small townhouses, 2 bed, 1 bath, the basics, a small green space in the back. Builders never offer this, though, because for them the bottom line is a huge profit margin, not quality of life. It then becomes incumbent upon our elected officials to make available affordable housing and help maintain our quality of life. So if this were the kind of project being proposed, family housing, small, and students could also rent or buy these, we would be applauding this project because this is why people are moving to Christiansburg and beyond. A second issue is that at the zoning presentation, the builders admitted that they are tying into our water and sewer lines in the existing lines. And McBride is a very old neighborhood, and they plan to tie it in just one house down from me. And I just want to know if any kind of research has been done into the sustainability of an ancient water and sewer system when you hook up almost 1,000 people in a large pool. We already, in our neighborhood, have problems with sporadic water pressure issues, and many pipes have burst underground. So with the additional stress, if it leads to failure and replacement of this infrastructure, who pays for it? The builder will be gone. So the high-rise design, as many people have brought up, is out of place and inconsistent with the lower profile of surrounding buildings. It will literally loom over our houses, our backyards, blocking the afternoon sunlight from our yards in our houses and diminish our privacy. I thought that was a profound picture. I'm glad he showed the picture with what it will actually look like, because that's been like in all of our nightmares.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council and town staff. Shocking, I'm going to talk about affordable housing. My name is James Drader. I'm Service Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of the New River Valley, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight regarding Ordinance 20094 and the proposed redevelopment at 702 University Boulevard. I want to begin by acknowledging the extensive effort that has gone into this proposal by town staff, the Planning Commission, the development team, and the community who have participated thoughtfully in this process. Blacksburg housing challenges are complex, and it will take all of us working to build solutions that are responsible, equitable, and forward-looking. Tonight, Habitat NRV speaks in support of this development, specifically because of its commitment to building deeply affordable rental units, which are essential to our mission and to the well-being of families across the New River Valley. Habitat for Humanity does not merely build houses, we build pathways to permanent, stable home ownership. That journey takes time. Many of the families we serve are living in substandard housing, overcrowded situations, or severely cost burdened, paying often 45 to 60% of their income on rent. These families cannot save, they cannot repair or rebuild their credit, and cannot realistically prepare for home ownership. That is why affordable apartments proposed in this development are so critical. The proposed income-restrictive units with rents capped at no more than 30% of a family's household income would provide the opportunity they need to stabilize. Habitat NRV has developed a supportive bridge housing program that would partner with the town and the developer to identify families earning 50 to 80% of the area median income who are on the path to home ownership and need 18 to 24 months in a stable, affordable rental environment to prepare for home ownership. During their time in these apartments, Habitat would work with these families on budgeting and debt management, credit education, savings goals, homebuyer education, employment, and financial stability. At the end of the period, these families would move into permanent Habitat homes, either in Blacksburg or nearby NRV communities. This development enables us to relocate families from unsafe, unstable, or financially burdensome housing into a structured, supportive pathway to a better future. From Habitat's perspective, these units fill a housing gap in Blacksburg, the need for affordable rental options that prepare families for permanent stability, not perpetual rent burden. Habitat's support tonight does not rely on any guaranteed outcomes. We understand this project is still undergoing town's review process, and we respect that process. Our goal is to partner with developments that create genuine, lasting affordability for families in need of a chance to build a safe, stable foundation. I wanted to take my remaining 7 seconds and read this from one of our homeowners. Our financial future is looking bright. Having affordable housing gives a teacher and an arborist a modest income and the ability to plan ahead. We can afford daycare, prices which are astronomical, and hope to be able to put aside what we can for a college future fund for our son. I will be eternally grateful for Habitat for Humanity for supporting me, my future, and my family's ability to grow and thrive in this community. I'm certain adding additional housing options is not only an investment in the family's future, but in the town that we love as well. Adding committed involvement, permanent members to our town can do nothing but strengthen our community bonds and brighten our future. Thank you for the overview.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Florian Zach. I live at 832 Hutchison Drive. I'm here to speak against this development. There have been many good points made earlier. I'd like to emphasize one or two of those. And it's really difficult to speak after a gentleman in favor of Habitat for Humanity. This is a development really designed for students, and it's not property for families. This is, one bedroom, and for each bedroom you have one bathroom. That's a luxury dormitory at this point, with a swimming pool. It's facing Hutchison Drive on one side, which is one-story family houses, maybe two-story family houses. As another gentleman mentioned earlier, there needs to be some kind of buffer in between, in terms of height of the buildings. I wouldn't be opposed to this property, to this 6-story facility being built on the other side of Hutchison Drive, maybe on top of this new derelict mall that we have there. Right next to Hutchison Drive, this doesn't fit into the fabric of this neighborhood. This is why you get the resistance from this neighborhood. So any other type of development and a lower design of this facility would be much more appreciated. The developers, and I really appreciate that they did adjust their plans and they did make amendments. Not enough, from my understanding, to be in support of this. I think they were right when they said earlier that they raised the bar. I agree with that. It's 6 stories tall. That's the bar, and that's just too high. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak under, yeah, okay.
I thought I'd be last. Good evening, council members. I'm Mary Biggs, and I've lived for 27 years at 701 Hutchinson Drive. And I want to speak tonight about the email I sent you yesterday. Sorry for some typos in there, but I want to emphasize 5 points, and I'll try to summarize them, not go into all the detail. The reason that I'm opposed to this there are 5 basic reasons. And the first is, according to the Blacksburg Comprehensive Plan, this location is not identified for student housing. The second reason, pardon me, I'm getting over a cold. Second reason, the projected density of the project will have serious repercussions for the traffic and the safety on UCB and on Price's Fork Road. We see it all the time from our neighborhood. Adding 836 more bodies to this already dangerous intersection is going to create, I feel, more accidents than have already happened. The third reason, the projected height, as you saw in the slide, that is a huge concern to our neighborhood, and it has not been addressed. The fourth reason, the parking. There are not enough parking places in this project. So what is going to happen? I can tell you what's going to happen because it happened in our neighborhood. It's still going on. Illegal student parking all the time. Okay, so what's going to happen when those students don't have a parking place? I'm really concerned as chair of the New River Valley Community Services Board with that easement. What's going to happen? The students are going to park in the parking lot where our clients come in. That's detrimental. So our board is against this project also. And I wanted to make that clear because that's not the way we want our clients to feel, that they can't get in or we're going to have to move the whole thing. The fifth reason has to do with the difference between commercial development and residential development. Like I stated, my husband and I have lived there for 27 years, and we have seen some changes over there on University City Boulevard that are commercial changes, and they've been okay. Because usually with commercial, you're talking about 9 to 5 or maybe a restaurant that has later hours. But you're going to put, or if you put residential and that density over there, that's going to be in and out all the time. And in and out means not just cars, it means scooters, it means wheelies, it means bicycles. We all know what happens because folks are traveling, especially at night, in black, not paying attention, and I am really concerned about the safety issue. So what I would ask, we, the neighbors of McBride Village, come from an established older neighborhood. We're invested in this neighborhood. And please consider what you have heard tonight. I agree with the points against this project. As far as the developers, I think they did a great job trying to address our concerns. But I'm still in opposition. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, I wonder. I think this is time for the rebuttal.
Let me start by saying, I hope I never offended anybody in here by saying your neighborhood is not great, right? I've never pictured it in Dire Straits. I think you guys are a wonderful neighborhood, and my goal is to enhance it, right? So I'm not here to do anything to try to hurt your neighborhood. I know we can disagree on that, But I just want to make sure it's understood that I've never tried to put your neighborhood or community in a bad light. I think it's a great neighborhood, and again, I don't want to do anything to jeopardize it. What I'm showing here on the image is actual footage, drone images of the height of the building up against the single-family neighborhood. Okay, so this is based on actual information, based on the height of our building, going out there and actually using it from the elevation to say this is how tall we're going to be. Okay, I don't know the building that was in the image before. Again, I don't know where that came from, but this is actually what it looks like from the 6 houses that abut us. There's really 7 adjacent to us, but this gives you a vantage point of what this looks like with our step back. So I just want to make sure that everybody, it's in your package, that you understand. Again, happy to answer any questions here. You know, again, back to the neighborhood. We were told early in this process that the town of Blacksburg conducted a study that found that 60% of that neighborhood was renter occupied. That's not my number, right? And that number's only grown over time from a renter occupied perspective. So again, we're focused on the 7 houses that are adjacent to us, and that's why we went door to door. Again, I didn't go there to try to freak people out or scare people. I went to try to understand their perspective. I went to understand what it looks like from their backyard. From the window there in the lower corner of your room that you do office stuff in, right? That's why I went there. I went there to try to understand that so we could have a better perspective to try to answer the concerns and the questions. The buildings adjacent to us, the hotels, they're 6 stories, not 4 stories, just to make sure that everybody understands that our project is proposed to be in the same height as those hotels that are 6 stories. It's specific to New River. I agree with Chris if he's still in here. I love win-wins. I live my life by win-wins. I've been trying to work with Chris to create a win-win. There is a private easement. The easement is reciprocal. It contemplates redevelopment, and it does not require a minimum number of parking spaces for either property to provide. Okay, we have committed to Chris to try to find a solution if they need it, but quite frankly, and you go there by today, there's a for sale sign in the yard, right? They've purchased another property in Christiansburg. It's not a secret. They would like to go to that location, right? So again, we've tried to work with him. We've tried to solve everything we could, including committing to not parking in the easement with our project. We would extinguish that easement. We have no intention to park on 700 UCB. We value what they do, and we don't want to interrupt it. As far as the traffic study, this is a study that the town has reviewed and approved. All the study intersections that we are projected to operate at acceptable levels of service. They do not go down from this project. Right? This is a third-party study that we submitted to the town that the town signed off on. On page 11 here, I don't want to get into the weeds, but we have done a bunch of work, and there are a number of third-party studies that talk about the impact on property values with these projects, including one, I think, from Virginia Tech. And so there's a number of studies here that, again, is empirical data that we're pulling from third parties that talk about pulling these pulling these students out of these neighborhoods, again, helps create value for the neighborhood, not deter value. Again, people can believe that or not. The last thing I want to show is we did shade and shadow studies because we were very interested, again, from the neighborhood feedback is what does this look like? So this is an existing study showing the existing trees, which are a fantastic buffer. This is an amazing opportunity for us to create that landscape buffer that was discussed earlier. This shows what it looks like with the existing trees. This shows what it looks like with our project. If I go back and forth, guess what? The shade doesn't necessarily change. It changes a little bit up against the property line, but as far as the houses, they're still in the shadows during the winter months with the trees and with the project. And we even did a study to say what it would look like if you had no trees. And that analysis came back and said basically you get the same shadow casting from the trees as you do from our project. The last thing, again, I want to just mention is someone had mentioned the stormwater infrastructure improvements. Those are all being done in UCB. So they're not impacting unless there's a main that runs down here from the neighborhood. But those are improvements that are going to be done in UCB, not up in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to clarify that. So again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. At this point, I think we will go on to action, and if I have a motion from council, we can begin a discussion.
I move that we deny ordinance 2094.
I second the denial.
So this is another vote where if we vote yes, we're voting yes to quash it. Okay, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So I wanted to, well, first I want to thank everyone, whether you came out here to support or oppose this development. Thank you for, I know it's been a long night, for coming out and sharing your concerns and your comments about this proposal. I wanted to specifically mention 3 things. As you can tell by I made the motion to deny, I'll be voting against this tonight. One reason for that is the conformity with the comprehensive plan. There's been a lot of talk about the comprehensive plan tonight. As the mayor pointed out, the comprehensive plan is a set of guidelines. It's not a law. The town of Blacksburg went through a process. We've had a lot of conversations about student housing over the years. And in 2022, we made some changes to our comprehensive plan to add a map of preferred areas that was shown kind of earlier in Kinsey's presentation. As I think everyone in the room knows, this proposal is not in one of those areas that was identified as one of the preferred locations for high-density student housing, and that's kind of weighed on my decision-making for this proposal. Certainly conditions can change. There can be proposals that come up that are something that we didn't contemplate that was a part of the comprehensive plan, and we might want to consider that instead of what was in the comprehensive plan. But in my opinion, this isn't one of those scenarios. A couple other issues that I'm concerned about. One is the loss of commercial space. I know that there are lots of challenges for office space, especially after COVID, but the University City Boulevard is one of our primary commercial corridors, so I am concerned about that. And I'm also concerned about the pedestrian experience in that area. If you're leaving or entering the building, you have to go through either the Kroger gas station parking lot or the parking lot for the hotels that are nearby are kind of the primary ways that you would go. And I just have some concerns about kind of what that means for the people that would be living in these buildings. All of that said, I would like to thank the development team. They were, as you saw by the list of proffers that were there, they've made a lot of concessions. They've put a lot of work and a lot of thought into this, spoken with neighbors and community organizations throughout this process. Even though I've come to a different conclusion on that, I did want to thank them for that.
All right, thank you. Susan, did you want to go?
Which one? Sure. I guess it's the last time I'll be saying that, maybe. 2 key elements that were stated in our staff report on this are that, 1, it was inconsistent with the comprehensive plan future land use designation, and 2, it's inconsistent with the comprehensive plan preferred locations for high-density student housing and mixed use with student housing. And I just ran for re-election this last fall, and I was lucky enough to get re-elected. But one of the parts of my platform included comprehensive plan. It was managing sustainable growth by adherence to our comprehensive plan. So how could I possibly vote for this proposal, right? Well, the mayor did make a good point that it's a vision, it's a visionary document, but to go over or go against that visionary document, you'd have to have such a marvelously good plan. You'd have to have the good of the proposal so outweigh to me the proposal, the comprehensive plans, and I just don't see that here. I see wonderful support for affordable housing and workforce housing. I see a lot of offers to try to improve safety on University City Boulevard and Price's Fork for the many, many more pedestrians and personal vehicles, or whatever we are going to call all these scooters and skateboards and stuff. And I think the developer is really trying hard to mitigate what are going to turn out to be, if this is passed, huge safety concerns for pedestrians, for our students trying to get across Price's Fork Road. And again, I don't see the good outweighing the negatives. My platform also included guiding development and redevelopment through shared community values and encouraging citizen participation. And as you all know, you in the McBride Village area and in residents in adjoining areas and even down Glade Road have been speaking to us, have been speaking out, have been attending meetings, have been giving suggestions, gathered petition signatures, emailed, attended the Planning Commission meetings, and you're here tonight. And you could not ask for more citizen participation than is happening right now. And I think what we've all agreed is, or I shouldn't say all, what many of us have agreed is that this is simply not a good location for student housing. And it would have a very negative impact on McBride Village, and it would have a negative impact on some of our other Blacksburg residences. We would lose a tremendous amount of commercially designated and zoned land. To me, the density is just too great, and the parking is just not adequate. I know there was a study, but from living in Blacksburg, I just don't think the parking is adequate. The safety issue, I guess, is my biggest concern here next to not following our comp plan. I appreciate the efforts of the applicant, like you all have just stated. I love the offer for workforce housing and for the financial aid for the development fund. But again, the good of this just simply doesn't override the negative for me, so I will vote for the motion against the proposal.
I'll speak. I'll say something. I think that there is a lot to recommend this project, and we certainly need more housing. And I want to sort of particularly call out the young man who said that these issues are a call to action to improve walkability in a mixed-use community. Unfortunately, I think that call to action has to happen before you build it. This is also not a truly mixed-use project. We do have some commercial in it, but it's a very small piece of commercial use in this more than 4-acre parcel of development. We know we've all talked about the challenges we have with pedestrian traffic, but the remedies for that are years away. I look forward to seeing what a rewritten comp plan with a new vision for University City Boulevard corridor looks like. But I think at this moment in time, a development of this scale is not a good fit for University City Boulevard, so I will not be voting in favor.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
So again, thank you all for being here, for emailing, for the visits, and for the development team. They've met with us a number of times as well. I agree that this area is ripe for redevelopment, and I appreciate all the changes that have been made to this project to address all the concerns by the neighbors. However, we have a comp plan amendment process for a reason, and I feel like that was circumvented here. And so because we've designated this as commercial space until that comp plan amendment were to happen, and the issues of pedestrian safety, I too will vote in favor of the denial.
Okay, who else have we got? Jerry?
An important piece of advice people get when they speak in public is to be funny, be brief, and be seated. So to start, I don't know, but I think I heard Susan Mattingly volunteering to serve on the comp plan committee. But seriously, you know, I serve on the Planning Commission. I did not support this, and most of you in the room heard me speak rather long about it, so I won't revisit it. Go to the tape if you want to hear it. I do want to commend the developers because they have worked hard since they first showed this to us in July, and they've worked really hard even from when the project was in front of the Planning Commission last month. But as I told them in July, and it's still today, is that, you know, it needs to be, for me, a really stellar project to step away from our community values that went into the aspirational part of the comp plan. So I I will remain a no vote for this.
Well, unlike Councilman Ford, I can't promise to be brief or funny. So I'll try and be honest then. So for me, this comes down to a vote of compassion. And I've struggled with this for, how long has this been going on now? 4 or 5 months now, to be thinking about this and talking with you all. I've been in the neighborhood twice, maybe 3 times. Met Annika for coffee recently too. And I have to say, you guys have a lot of very valid points, particularly about traffic concerns. I try and keep a tally up here of the concerns that people bring most often during a public comment like this, and traffic seems to be the one that we're all on board with, that absolutely is, it's already a problem and would be made worse by development down there. And we're going to see development down there for sure. Virginia Tech Foundation, of course, with that land swap, set themselves up right to eventually start constructing, I imagine, some student housing down there. In my mind, why a compassionate vote would also be not just against, but for this project, which in this case would be against the motion, is that a rising tide lifts all ships. So when we talk about the rate of rent inflation in this town, it's been about 40% over the last 5 years. And for studios and one-bedrooms, oftentimes per year, that's about a 10% inflationary increase. So in a town that is, like ours, 66% renters, that's 66% of the people that call Blacksburg home are renters. 66% of the people in this town have, over the last 5 years, experienced an average of 40% inflation in the amount of money they're paying for rent. And unlike a mortgage that you're paying, which is, by the way, steady each year, you never get the money back you pay in rent. It doesn't come back to you at the sale of the home in equity minus your interest. It's just gone. You make that payment and it's gone. And so for me, the amount of money that an individual is paying in rent is paramount to their economic success, their quality of life, and what it means to live here in Blacksburg. So knowing that, the question then becomes, well, how do we bring prices down, or how do we slow the rate of rent inflation? And like all things in economics, it's a supply and demand problem, because housing is a commodity. Like apples or like iPhones, housing's a commodity, and it's affected by supply and demand. And because Virginia Tech has increased enrollment so steadily over the past couple of years and promised to continue doing that, we have an economic system in Blacksburg right now surrounding housing where we have high demand and low supply. And when you have high demand and low supply, you see inflationary pressures on pricing. And that's what we're seeing on housing here in Blacksburg. So for that reason, I'm planning to vote against the motion and am in favor of this development.
I'll follow that up by saying that I will also vote against the measure in favor of the proposal for a couple of different reasons. In my view, it does have enough good qualities to overcome many of the reservations that this neighborhood has respectfully and consistently expressed. So I appreciate your involvement, and I appreciate that we come down on different sides of this. I do have a hard time feeling that UCB is going to be a disaster with people walking down it. It's one of the 2 largest streets that we have in the town. The name Boulevard is right there, University City Boulevard. It's 4 lanes. It's generous sidewalks. They're going to get bigger. It's got a generous median strip. And I think that adult, college-educated people will be able to walk themselves down to Main Street, where, sure enough, there will be more traffic. But if we do not accommodate them, then these are all people who will be driving into town. And that's the conundrum that we're facing. When the university insists on first 5,000 students, and then, oopsie, it was an extra 1,000 students, and now planning for 10,000 more, this is how it works out. People that I talk to, including my colleagues here on council, are weary of providing for student needs while VT does nothing to accommodate its own growth. I mean, I think this is something we can all get behind. We're sick of it, and it is just tiring. The university will always have the upper hand. Virginia Tech can afford to purchase any amount of property it wishes, and recently a co-opted property. In my 43 years here in Blacksburg, they've expanded the campus footprint at least 3 times as it suited them. For the Library Plaza, which truncated College Avenue and eliminated the connection between town and campus. And then later again, they took possession of Stanger Street, no conversation. And most recently now Turner Street, and it was a deceitful omission, a lie of omission that they did without discussing it with any of us who are going to be negatively affected. Of course, the situation is confounded by the glaring conflict of interest that certain members of the politically appointed Board of Visitors have. They are crafting university policy on housing and enrollment while also profiting on the private side, building student housing. We're all fed up. So I get that. But it is, if you look at the flip side, it is naive to think that this university is going to solve our housing and community problems. Virginia Tech will continue to make business decisions in their own best interests, and there are many Hokies who would defend them for doing so.
Maybe.
We cannot simply say no to change and expect greater consideration from Tech. It is the definition of insanity to keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. And what do I mean by that? Blacksburg is ranked in the top 3 college towns nationally for pre-leasing student apartments. And rent growth is up 6.4% over just last year. 2/3 of our residents are students. We come to think of them as other than. We otherize students, but they're not other. We don't have a 3/5 compromise anymore. Those students are as worthy residents as we are. They outnumber you and me 2 to 1. Are they worth so much less than you or I? Do their housing conditions and availability matter? Not at all. Are they not also constituents and our neighbors? And these are the questions I have to ask myself when we come to these decisions. So I'll leave it at that. Will the clerk please call the roll? And a reminder, if you vote yes, you mean no.
I mean yes to the denial. Aye. Sutphen?
Aye.
Watson?
Nay.
Anderson?
Aye.
Culliver?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Hager-Smith?
No. Thank you for your patience and your involvement.
Should we give
Yeah, let's do that.
and let it go?
Next one. So we've completed item C on the agenda. We have until item I, this section.
Yeah. Oh, downtown Northwest.
So we're getting ahead.
Well, I think it could have been just general tension. The bathroom.
Tension headache.
For me, it is. For me, it is for sure. Got to pay attention.
Maybe we get to take a little stretch break.
Commercial break? And now, do you have a
Here we go. Do we lose him?
I would wait until.
You can say we're taking a break or anything, or just keep going like.
You can't be there.
Tension headache. I could have not had enough caffeine.
Yeah. Actually, Dr. Gary gets that every time. If he tries to back off the caffeine for like a full day, he will start getting
If I don't have
headache.
a soda by 3 p.m., I get a headache, but I had one today. Maybe I needed 2.
Did you have that when you went off?
I tapered off because I've had, bad headaches every time I skip caffeine because I was a several coffees a day person.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely had to taper off.
I think we will get started again here now, and we are moving on to Ordinance 2001, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance to create the Downtown Northwest Zoning District as new sections 3500 through 3507.
Andrew Warren has a staff report.
The 2019 strategic plan for downtown defined 6 areas, one of which was downtown northwest. This triangle is bounded by North Main Street, Price's Fork Road, and then connected by Turner Street. As shown here on the far left, highlighted in yellow. So downtown Northwest is considered a unique part of downtown because of the expense of the land, high demand in the market for student housing, quality retail, strong linkage between the university being right next door and separated, and also this area being separated from other neighborhoods. And also, currently there's a lot of auto-oriented uses in this area, and then it is separated from downtown, from other parts of downtown by Virginia Tech. So this ordinance would provide a floating zoning district. So it's over the existing downtown commercial zoning districts. It would create an incentive-based district. A property owner would have to apply for the district. So they would have to apply for it and be approved in order to be able to activate the incentives. The ordinance does require more detailed and form-based standards than other districts, including the underlying downtown commercial zone. So there are, this ordinance is divided into 6 primary components that are listed here, and I'll touch on each of one of these briefly in an upcoming slide. The purpose section describes the goal of the district using standards such as the size, location of a building, and the overall design of the development to create a dense, urban, well-connected, mixed-use development pattern. To be eligible to apply, you'd have to be in the downtown Northwest District, and then also you'd have to have 3.5 acres of land and 300 feet of contiguous frontage. This would require parcel accumulation by any developer, and this requirement is designed really to ensure that the district's purpose is met with a well-connected mixed-use development pattern, as well as to ensure the vision laid out in the downtown strategic plan. So the ordinance provides for new concepts and defines those concepts, and also it provides for many illustrations that are kind of new element that we're implementing here into the ordinance, and it really does help explain the concepts. If a definition is not found in this section, then it would default to our general definition section in the zoning ordinance. The permitted uses are based on the downtown commercial zoning district uses. There is a table that it lays out what are by right uses, what are conditional uses, and those particular standards that are particular for those uses. So height was studied, as everyone knows, in depth by both Planning Commission and Town Council. And the ordinance before you has a maximum height of 100 feet, except for the 60 feet within 50 linear feet of the back of curb from North Main Street, as well as a portion of Turner Street, which is 450 linear feet from Main Street to basically where Turner Street turns at the entrance of the Center for the Arts. There would not be a prescribed bedrooms per acre, such as with most districts, like the downtown commercial has a 48 bedrooms per acre density, but rather the detailed form requirements such as a build to line and other standards, design standards that I'll get into in a minute, will kind of dictate the density. There also are several requirements that would look to protect the historic Oddfellows Hall, St. Luke and Oddfellows Hall, and one would be that there would be a minimum setback of 30 feet from on any abutting property, and then the maximum height would be 35 feet within 50 linear feet of any abutting property. So you're controlling for height within a certain distance of Oddfellows, and then also one that was recommended by Planning Commission recently and reviewed at your last work session, was that there would be a minimum setback of 30 feet along Price's Fork Road. So there are site standards as well that would include for bike parking and structured parking, open space, et cetera. This slide is regarding landscaping requirements. Most standards deal with screening surface parking lots when surface parking lot is proposed, although there'll probably be a lot more structured parking in this particular scenario. And it also would screen service areas, loading docks, those sorts of things. And then the landscaping would be more urban, so there would it'd be the use of more planters and street trees, as you see in the pictures. And then signage would require a special signage plan, similar to what you've seen in other areas of town, like First and Main and on University City Boulevard. And that would require this plan to be a companion application with the rezoning, and they would have to lay out the number of signs, the location, and design of them. And that would be submitted along with the rezoning, as I mentioned. So, Planning Commission did review this at their public hearing on October 7th. They did recommend approval by a vote of 6-1, and that was with that original, the height of 120 feet that was recommended with the same setbacks. And then also they, as I mentioned, they did recommend that 30-foot buffer along Price's Fork Road. And so you reviewed this at your work session on the 18th, and we're here this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Talk about this
we
for
talked
how
about
many
it
years?
for 5 years.
Yeah,
My questions are answered.
I just wanted to ask, this all came about originally as part of the downtown study that was done?
The strategic plan, yes.
And that was done in
2019.
2019, yeah. Yeah, so, yes,
6 years.
It's been a long time coming.
6 years.
What was the final height in this? This is 100
So in
feet.
the ordinance, it reads as 100 foot.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone in the public like to speak to Ordinance 2001?
Hello, Mayor Hagersmith, members of council. My name is April DeMotts. My address is 211 Craig Drive, and I'll follow your prescription a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not going to be funny, but I'll be brief and then I'll sit down.
Okay.
But I got to laugh. So thank you very much for the opportunity to provide comments this evening on the Downtown Northwest Zoning District. As you know, I'm the representative of several properties within the district, and we have closely followed this process and have been an active participant in these conversations since this was first introduced as a zoning ordinance amendment in 2022 after the strategic plan. We agree with and support the vision of the strategic plan that downtown Northwest is an ideal location for high-density student housing. However, due to the reduced height and minimum acreage constraints, what is proposed this evening is commercially unviable. We appreciate the opportunity to continue to engage. Thank you.
I'm Jody Booz Daniels, 99 Allendale Court. First of all, I am speaking for a new organization, that nonprofit that we've just started. It's called the Friends of St. Luke, Oddfellows, and Household of Ruth. We appreciate that St. Luke, Oddfellows, Household of Ruth all is being thought of and part of this overlay. However, I still don't understand, we don't understand, how this is going to protect the view shed of the building, because the Wendy's, in front of Wendy's, it is not contiguous, so the overlay will not really have anything to do. So I'm hoping going forward that the town council can come up with another idea of how to protect that view shed. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, seeing no one, what is council's pleasure?
I move that we approve ordinance 2001.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
I feel like we've had 6 years of discussion.
Yeah, we've had way too much
This is a good
discussion
place
about
to
it.
put student housing. I just want to punctuate that.
Yeah, well, okay, but I think that what is proposed is too tall, as you all know. And the university has taken great pains to give Lane Hall its space, to occupy its space with dignity, and has been very careful to create a lot of new buildings on campus, but they don't impinge on buildings that are adjacent to them. I'm concerned about the height that's proposed here, and I'm also concerned about, we didn't get a lot of information from our government relations liaison, but I did ask for information as a result of a conversation I had with an administrator at Tech about this infinite loop that was proposed several years ago for their master plan. So that will be adjacent to this space where very large buildings are proposed. In any event, you've heard this before, but for the record, I'm opposed. Anyone else?
I also have a problem with the height of this proposed zoning overlay. I think it should be taller. I was on Planning Commission in 2022, so this has been around for long enough for me to have voted against it on Planning Commission and then get recycled through Planning Commission and come back to us with an even higher building height limit. I have concerns if we're not going to put student housing across the street from this area, which we decided as a council tonight we are not. This is kind of the last remaining space that we could build student housing without causing significant traffic issues in our town. So for that reason, I think we should put as much student housing in this particular place as possible. I don't know to what extent that additional 20 feet is really going to make or break whether or not a developer can come in and actually build a project in this space. For that reason, I'm going to vote yes. But I'm hopeful if a developer does not move on this in the next couple of years, we can perhaps revisit this, as Ms. DeMott said, the acreage minimum, and also revisit the building height limit.
Okay.
I also would have liked to have seen us hit the 120 mark, but I'm willing to compromise and happy to just have this done.
I've served on Planning Commission equally a long time, like Liam, and so from the very beginning, I was always opposed to the 120, thinking that was too much. I tend to agree with the mayor that I wanted to go a little lower to start, and so to the counterpoint of Lauren's, I would have preferred 86, 90, but I'm willing to compromise to 100 so we can do it. That's what you do sometimes. You compromise to get stuff done.
And that's why it took us so many years to get here.
Okay. With that, will the clerk please call the roll?
Sutphin?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Anderson?
Aye.
Colliver?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Hager-Smith?
No.
Mattingly?
Aye.
Moving on to ordinance 2096, authorizing the withdrawal of land in the agricultural and forestal district.
Andrew Warren has a staff report.
Thank you. As we discussed at the work session, the property owners are James and Carol Berger. They're at 701 Bishop Road. This would be a removal of 3.18 acres out of the agriculture forestal district. All the area that you see in green is in the agriculture forestal district, so it'd really be just that top 3.18 acres that is surrounded by the blue dash. So this is a plat that shows the desire of the applicant to withdraw those acres so that they could subdivide that top parcel that has frontage along Treetop Ridge Road to place 3 parcels. So what would be remaining would be the the bottom part of the parcel that would front. The remaining parcel would not have frontage on Treetop Ridge Road. This is a close-up of the 3 parcels that would front on Treetop Ridge Road that are being withdrawn from the Agriculture Forestal District. So in consideration of any request, it states that no request should be approved if it would damage the integrity and terminate the district in its entirety. There still is a lot of acreage in this area that would remain. Does not of the district as a whole, and then that it be done in a good and reasonable cause, and subdivision is deemed as a good and reasonable cause. There may be rollback taxes that the property owner would need to pay. He would need to calculate those taxes. The Agriculture Forestal District Committee did meet on September 16th. They did accept the withdrawal by a vote of 6. And then the Planning Commission voted on October 7th, and they did recommend approval by a vote of 7-0 as well. That concludes my remarks. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Okay, what is council's pleasure?
Public comment.
We have public comment? Okay, now what is council's pleasure?
Was there an applicant
okay.
statement?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Town Council. My name is Jim Berger. I'm the applicant and the owner of the property. I really don't have much to add to what Andrew said, except to just reiterate that I've owned this 36 acres, and for the last 35 years it has been in the district. And now I'm requesting only 3 acres to be withdrawn, which is actually at the very top of the property, not even visible from Bishop Road. And the remaining 32 or 33 acres will remain in the district, still accomplishing the letter and the spirit of the district. That's all I have to say, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Anyone else? What is council's pleasure?
Move that we approve ordinance 2096.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Do we have discussion? The clerk, please call the roll.
Watson?
Aye.
Anderson?
Aye.
Colliver?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Hager-Smith?
Aye.
Mattingly?
Aye.
Sutphen?
Aye.
Moving on to ordinance 2102, approving and authorizing the execution of a solar power purchase agreement by and between the town of Blacksburg, Virginia, and TB Solar LLC.
Harold Davis has the staff report. Here you go.
Through them. Good evening, Council. Not a lot of new information from what I presented to you at the work session. But for the folks here in the audience, we are proposing to enter into a power purchase agreement for the Blacksburg Transit Facility. How those work, in short, is a solar developer provides the upfront capital to install, operate, and maintain a solar array on a building they do not own, and the building and the site owner provides a long-term lease for that solar array and then pays the developer for the electricity generated while that building is still connected to the utility, which provides electricity as needed to the building, and also accepts excess electricity that is generated by the project. The way that power purchase agreements work and financially is that we are locking in, and other projects like this lock in a solar PPA rate that we pay the solar developer. Some of PPAs actually do an escalation, an annual escalation. We have negotiated a rate that will keep that static over the term, the minimum 25-year term of this project, while the utility rates are anticipated, as we have seen in recent years, to rise over time with the potential for significant cost savings for the town. As you all know, the formatting is a bit off here, but we brought this first to you in August as we were preparing the RFP, and then updated you throughout that process, and last provided an update when we had agreed in principle to contract terms with the developer. I think it came to you for a first reading in early November, and now it is coming back to you today to vote on the ordinance, which will authorize the town manager to execute the PPA contract as well as the site lease. So Ordinance 2102, as I said, authorizes the town manager to enter into the PPA agreement at this rate that we have negotiated with the annual rate escalator, which, as I said, is 0. And other stipulations for operation and maintenance of the system over the term, as well as decommissioning and removal of the system at the end of its useful life, as well as other common contractual elements for construction. The ordinance also authorizes the town manager to award the franchise permitting the site lease of Blacksburg Transit Roof, which is in excess of the typical 5-year that we are enabled to do. Because of the nature of solar, we have to be in a longer term nature lease of a minimum of 25 years. This lease is for the roof of Blacksburg Transit only and ensures no interruptions of transit operations. We also have the option to extend for up to 35 years in 2 possible 5-year increments. So the grant of franchise required for the roof site lease. I did want to note that we after we put this out to RFP, we did receive 3 proposals and elected to interview 2 solar developers. The recommendation from staff is to accept the proposal from Secure Solar Futures, who will be establishing a new LLC for this project called TB Solar LLC, based on the RFP criteria that they were able to meet, and most notably the proposed PPA rate of 0.1135 cents per kilowatt hour. Other terms of the contract that persuaded us to go with this proposal is the size of the array, 760 kilowatt array, which is roughly equivalent to putting solar on around 127 residential homes. As I said before, the project term is 25 years with options to extend. We are excited to report that this will meet, when we first do the installation, 100% of Transit's current electricity needs, and as we build out our electric bus fleet, anticipated to meet 80% of the electricity needs at Blacksburg Transit once that full EV conversion is completed. Again, we will start on day 1 paying a lower rate for electricity, with a 0% escalator compared to a conservative estimate that we use for the purposes of comparing proposals of 3% annual anticipated utility rate increases. We have, of course, seen larger rate increases in recent years, so this is quite a conservative estimate. We will begin saving money in year 1, and at the end of the 25-year initial terms, we anticipate saving at least $2.2 million, and if we elect to extend the contract, we expect to save around $4.4 million in net savings on electricity. So I will stop there for questions, and also note that Brian Booth is here, Director of Transit, if you have any questions for him as well.
Fresh out.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Let's see, do we have public comment on ordinance 2104? No, 2102.
Yes. Good evening to you all. I'm Patrick Fight. I'm a town resident on Gladewood Drive here in town. I'm also the owner of Baseline Solar, a solar contracting business. It has its roots here in Blacksburg. It still operates here in the area. I like this proposal, and I encourage you to vote to approve it. I like the renewable energy aspects of it, the cost-saving aspects of it, and making our own energy right here. Also, My business is partnering with Secure Solar Futures to do the construction and maintenance of this, so this will really have impacts for my company and my staff, who live and work here in the area. So please support it. Thank you for considering it.
Hello, members of Town Council, Madam Mayor. This might be the last time I get to say that. My name is Stephen Gillespie. I live at 201 Fairfax Road. I just wanted to come here to say thank you for the work that you've done for the past year. And I don't think there has been any project that I could have possibly wholeheartedly endorsed more than this one. I have been banging the drum about public transportation and renewable energy since I got back here in 2016. And ironically, I think because of some of the evil doings that are going on at the federal level with taxes and everything else, it has hastened people to do more as far as renewable energy goes, particularly with solar. Thank you to Ms. Davis and the staff. I am thrilled with this project and very, very much hope you will vote unanimously to approve it and look forward to more projects like this as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one. What is council's pleasure on ordinance 2102?
I move that we approve ordinance 2102.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Anderson?
Aye.
Oliver?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Hagersmith?
Aye.
Mattingly?
Aye.
Sutphin?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Was that unanimous enough?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 2104, amending Town Code Sections 22-221 and 22-222 pertaining to tax exemptions for elderly and disabled persons by increasing income and asset limits.
Jeff Lazenby has a staff report.
Good evening, Council. So tonight I am presenting the proposed ordinance to adopt the annual real estate tax relief income limits for elderly and disabled residents. So this is our routine annual update to ensure the town's program stays aligned with Montgomery County and reflects current inflation adjustments. So just as a quick refresher, this tax relief program is offered by Montgomery County as well as the towns of Blacksburg and Christiansburg. Under state code, it is available to residents who are age 65 or older or who are permanently disabled. For the income calculation, the first $10,000 is excluded. For net worth, we exclude the primary residence and up to 1 acre of land. Eligible applicants must apply to both the county and the town to receive the relief. To make the process clear and consistent, for our residents, the town aligns its tax limits with those adopted by Montgomery County. So those limits are updated each year to reflect inflation and ensure the program remains accessible. For 2025, we serve 29 households, unchanged from the number served in 2024. The majority of these households qualify for the full 100% tax relief benefit. So for 2026, we're proposing updated income and net worth limits. On the income limits, up to $46,000 qualifies for 100% relief. $46,001 to $58,000 qualifies for 60% relief, and then $58,001 to $72,000 qualifies for 40% relief. We're also recommending an increase in the net worth limit from $205,000 to $210,000. These adjustments mirror the county's updates and reflect inflationary changes. So Montgomery County approved these updates on October 14, 2025. This update became effective on January 1, 2025, and the new limits are scheduled to take effect on January 1, 6. So this ordinance was introduced at your November 12th meeting, and tonight we're holding the public hearing and presenting the final proposed limits for your consideration. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on ordinance 2104? Seeing none, what is council's pleasure?
I move approval of ordinance 2104.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Colliver.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Hager-Smith.
Aye.
Mattingly.
Aye.
Sutphen.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Moving on to ordinance 2105, vacating a public utility easement on land located near the 800 block of North Main Street. And we begin with the staff presentation.
Larry has the next two items.
No PowerPoint, very short presentation. This vacates, 2105 vacates an unneeded easement. It's no longer needed because there's going to be a redevelopment of 801 North Main, and there will be new public utilities easements provided as part of that redevelopment.
Okay. Is there any public comment on ordinance 2105? Seeing none, what is council's pleasure?
I move approval of ordinance 2105.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Aye.
Hager-Smith.
Aye.
Mattingly.
Aye.
Sutphen.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Oliver.
Aye.
Moving on to ordinance 2106, vacating public utility easements located at 401 and 405 Draper Road.
Similarly, this will vacate outdated easements that, as you may have seen, the construction fence around this property. There's going to be a redevelopment, a restaurant, a cafe established, and the existing easements were probably installed 50 or 60 years ago, and they need to be changed, modified, expanded. So this will vacate the old easements, and we've already received the new easements for the project.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak to ordinance 2106? Seeing no one, what is council's pleasure?
I move approval of ordinance 2106.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Hager-Smith.
Aye.
Mattingly.
Aye.
Sutphen.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Oliver.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
We move on now to the citizen comments portion of our meeting. Is there any, yeah. Yeah, okay, well, it's been a war of attrition, I think. Okay, it looks like we're not going to have citizen comments now, so we will go on to appointments. We want to appoint Carolyn Howard as our town representative for a 4-year term to the Blacksburg VPI Sanitation Authority. Even Carolyn has given up. And we want to appoint Lucius Merritt, Jr. as joint representative for a 4-year term to the Blacksburg VPI Sanitation Authority. What is council's pleasure to do with these appointments?
I move that we appoint Carolyn Howard and Lucius Merritt Jr. to 4-year terms for the Blacksburg VPI Sanitation Authority as the town representative and joint representative, respectively.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please.
Mattingly.
Aye.
Sutphen.
Aye.
Watson.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Oliver.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Hager-Smith.
Aye. Moving on to unfinished business. Do we have any? Okay. How about new business? We are going to introduce the capital improvement program tonight.
Since it's approaching the mandatory bedtime for all town staff, I'm going to move through this pretty quickly tonight. So we're introducing the capital improvement program to you tonight. You have a copy in front of you. We'll spend more time on this in work sessions starting in January. But the CIP, it's a 5-year plan. It's the first step in the town's budget process. It identifies our large capital projects going 5 years into the future, things like equipment purchases, large operating expenditures, infrastructure investments, buildings, and facilities. It identifies the funding sources, how we're going to pay for those things, typically either financed using bonds or paid for with cash that's above our financial limits, our minimum financial limits. And then it provides a link between the council's strategic goals that you set every 2 years, so we follow those, the town's comprehensive plan, and then links up with our operating budget. Looking at expenditure, we also project out our expenditures and revenues, the first step of the budget process, to see kind of where we're going to be in the next operating budget. We're continuing to see inflation, not at the levels that we saw the past few years, but about 3%. So we're projecting that, projecting increases in operating and capital costs. Construction costs are going up. On the revenue side, we are seeing healthy growth in real estate, meals, and lodging revenues, and moderate growth in our other revenue sources. This is just a slide that summarizes all the projects. And over the 5-year period, it's 114 projects total. When you're looking at the general fund, which is where most town services and a lot of the projects come from, it's $78 million in projects. 21 of those projects are bonded or would be financed over a 20-year period. This just shows the breakdown for the first year of the CIP. The first year is the projects that we'll see starting in July. Council will actually appropriate those funds when you adopt the operating budget later next year. The general fund being the largest portion at just over $14 million. And then transit, we spend a lot of money on vehicles and equipment in transit. So the transit fund is the other large piece of the capital improvement program. These are just some quick highlights of some of the projects. You'll see a lot of the projects are projects you've seen in the past, since we do plan for these over a 5-year period. But we're planning for Draper Road streetscape improvements. That's going to be a revenue sharing project a few years out. An over-under parking deck at Progress Street. We're continuing to fund our downtown facade grant program. We issued a lot of those grants this year, and we'll start bringing you some before and after photos after the first of the year to show you some of the results there. We're planning for a downtown restroom that's going to sync up with the Draper Road streetscape improvements. We'll plan that at the same time. And then we've added some more money to the budget for the St. Luke and Oddfellows Hall restoration to finish that project out. We're investing a lot in parks and recreation. We're looking at about $10 million in athletic field renovations. The second phase of the Meadowbrook Trail, the first phase is we'll be cutting a ribbon on that here in the next couple of months. It's about done. So that's exciting. We're breaking that project up because the second phase is going to have to be pushed out a little bit, so we'll be building the parking lot or expanding the parking lot at Glade and Meadowbrook first to expand that parking up there. We're planning over the long term some improvements at Heritage Park, some improvements at the South Point Park where the soccer fields are located, finishing that park out, and then continuing to fund playground replacements. Transportation projects, we're continuing to invest a lot in pedestrian and bicycle improvements in various locations. So we have some money to do, and these are kind of some smaller scale pedestrian and bicycle improvements on these different roads that are listed here. We have a Clay Street sidewalk that's proposed in the CIP, a Mount Tabor Road sidewalk extension that's proposed in the CIP, road and trail paving. So we're funding our trail paving just like we do our road paving moving forward. And then we also have various sidewalk infill projects in locations around town that we're proposing. And then we have a variety of utility projects in our water, sewer, and stormwater system. A lot of these projects are really maintaining our existing infrastructure or adding capacity to our sewer system. And then transit, we are continuing, the bulk of the spending in transit is to continue to replace our bus fleet as we do every year. And then we're also adding electric bus charging infrastructure so that we can charge buses both at the transit facility but also mid-route so that they can charge in the middle of the day. Continuing to fund bus pull-offs and then all the technology that keeps our bus system operating. Here's the schedule. So we're introducing the CIP tonight. The Planning Commission will review the CIP next week, and then we will dive in deeper on January 6th, and then we'll hold the public hearing January 13th. We'll have another work session on January 20th where we can discuss the CIP further, and then council can consider adopting the CIP on January 27th. So That's a quick summary of what you'll find in the document.
Thank you. We are at the moment in the program when we have council announcements. Are there any council announcements? None.
I have a question. Did we schedule the public hearing for the capital improvement program? I don't think it's on the consent agenda. Do we need to add that?
You don't legally have to schedule a
Okay.
public hearing, as long as we advertise it.
Okay.
Although,
Okay, good.
You bring up an important point, though, because we probably ought to say that the next two regularly scheduled meetings, which would be our work session and our night session in December, those are canceled. And I do have a quick announcement, and I will make it quick. Inasmuch as this is my last meeting and Susan's last two, I want to make a plea for becoming more informed. Of course, the irony is no one's here to hear this, but I'm going to let you have it anyway. Blacksburg is home to people who support the local music scene, also people who are committed to shopping local and eating organics. It costs a bit more, but many of our residents are willing to stretch for the good of the community. I want to ask my neighbors here tonight, and who might be listening, to also support our local news outlets. There are a couple of citizens here who are some of the best informed people in town, but you don't have to be Steve or Joel to give it your best shot here. As I referenced earlier, events in this year alone should give people a reason to reconsider their support of our newspaper of record. Cancellation of the university master plan by a politically appointed board of visitors, launch of a study to explore growing enrollment to 40,000, and a land swap which effectively expands campus boundaries at the expense of the town. A recent Roanoke Times article detailed the Virginia Tech land swap, and in that article I specifically called for a pilot. And a pilot is an acronym, and it stands for a payment from the university in lieu of taxes, because our situation is untenable. It's not sustainable. Across the U.S., over 70 colleges and universities have pilot agreements benefiting over 218 localities in 28 states. These are arrangements that can contribute significantly toward the cost of the public services that universities and their student populations consume. In social media, I have not seen a single mention of a pilot, and that's because people pick up the quick quips on Facebook and toss them around endlessly. I've seen complaints from people who hit the paywall at the Roanoke Times and couldn't read the story, so clearly they didn't read the story. I note the people who have fun recycling innuendo and personal insults, but if you're not reading the news, you are not fully informed, and you are preventing us all from joining in productive problem solving. So I understand that the cost of a newspaper subscription may not be within reach for everyone, but there is a cost in civility and community action if we do not commit to being informed. And with that, we are adjourned.